Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Real Talk with a Vulnerable Angel and Friends. I am your host, the Vulnerable Angel, Dominica May. And my friends tonight are Sharad and Mike. Welcome, guys.
How's it going, everybody?
If this is your first time watching, guys, and everyone, I still use guys as a non-gender term, but I know not everyone's like that. If it's your first time watching, what this stream is, what we do is we just have deep, vulnerable conversations, talk about sensitive topics, that sort of thing, ask each other questions. Sometimes I draw them from card decks. Sometimes we get audience questions in the chat, so feel free to drop those. Feel free to drop them in the comments section if you're watching it after the fact. We will bring them up in the next live stream. All right, let's get started. We just didn't pick a card deck yet. You want to do last time I think you guys just picked a number and I picked.
Oh yeah, I kind of like that method. Yeah.
Me too. Let's go with that. Yeah, let's have a bit of fun.
Okay. All right, what number you want?
Let's go. I think last week we went number 2. I'm gonna say let's do number 1.
Ooh, all right. Okay. This is the intimacy deck.
Nice. Let's start off strong. Very good.
All right. So then we have multiple categories to choose from. So I'm going to let you do another number picking. This is from 1 to 6.
Sharad?
Let's go with 6.
All right. About you.
Ooh.
About you. I think this is the about you section. Yes. Okay. And shuffle. All right. Here we go. We'll pick
super excited. Watching right now.
Yeah. Look, there's nobody actually watching it at the moment, so it's fine. Okay.
To be fair, all I saw was this. So yeah.
You can imagine that I'm whacking someone off then if you enjoy that.
Don't have to imagine. It's easy enough. Don't have to do it at all.
Oh my god, this is such an appropriate question for what's on my mind right now.
Even better.
What makes you angry, and how do you agree?
Can you read that again? Because the
glitch. That was a glitch.
Okay.
Glitch.
Okay. Sorry. What makes you angry, and how do you behave when you're angry?
Oh no. Okay.
You're not gonna like me when I'm angry.
I haven't had breakfast. You definitely won't like me when I'm angry.
I'll go first because I have like I said, this is something that's been on my mind at present or like the last couple of days, and I want to do an actual like social media video about this, but I've noticed that I now have a trigger that makes me irrationally angry and defensive, and it is when a man that I have cared about will come at me and tell me that his interpretation of things or his perception of things is that he matters less to me than he actually does, just because of whatever, like his own internal issues, fears, that sort of thing. But I find myself irrationally angry about this, and I get defensive because I'm like, what? Like in my mind, what goes through my mind is like, how the fuck could you have come to this conclusion because I've done X, Y, and Z, and you seem to be ignoring all of this stuff that I've done.
I seem to have missed something. I'm not following.
You're not following what I mean?
I'm not following. What is it?
So if a guy, for example, and a partner of mine or an ex-partner of mine comes and says to me, "Oh, I'm not important to you because you didn't do
XYZ.
this, you didn't do this, or you didn't do that."
So if a guy named Joe comes to you and Joe says, "Hey, Dominica, I, Joe, am not important to you, Dominica, because of blank, 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 and blank."
Yeah.
That's what gets you angry.
Yeah, because
Got it.
it's based on his own internal assumptions rather than what I feel like is the reality of the situation. Like, because so one example, really good example is, when Lee told me that he interpreted a Facebook post that I made meant that my time with him didn't mean anything to him. And I was like, what the fuck? I flew over to Malaysia 3 times to come and see you and like sort things out. How did you come to that conclusion? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so I found myself like getting defensive about it rather than like getting curious of like what made you feel that way.
Is she frozen?
Apparently, she's at a loss for words.
Apparently, looks that way.
Like, it's not just a Lee thing. I've noticed it with. I'm sorry,
No,
guys.
You're frozen.
I have
You're
a new
frozen.
internet. Oh my god.
There you are. We see you now.
Yeah,
No worries.
you're back. You have a new internet what?
What is up with this?
Exactly. Keenan Thompson asks himself that every Saturday.
What is up?
What's up with that?
Is that where that line's from? What's up with that? It's Keenan that does it?
Well, that's not what it's from. I think that's just a colloquial phrase.
Okay, because for me, I remember like in the early 2000s in WWE, I'm a massive wrestling fan. There was a character called the Hurricane who was like his character he was a superhero and he also had his own human or civilian persona. And his catchphrase would be like, "What's up with that?" So that's how I figured that was. So.
Nice. Yeah, no, Keenan Thompson he did a sketch where he was like this game show host. But it wasn't even really like a game show. It was like just like welcome to this weird random variety show called What Up With That? And he would ask, it was more of like a talk show, really. I think the gambit was that it was a talk show. And he would have, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, 3 different guests. And at one point, I remember Robin Williams was a guest on this What Up With That sketch.
Oh, wow. That's a big name. And
they never, and it was one of the SNL cast members. It was Robert De Niro, and it was Robin Williams.
Holy hell, okay.
And they only ever asked the SNL cast member questions and never asked the other, never asked
the actors?
Never asked.
That's hilarious.
They were
That's
just
so funny.
There. Yeah, they were just there.
That's so
really
funny.
Great. Yeah. Anyway,
that's
that was just one of the sketches, but yeah, he would ask questions like, "What's up with that?" And then like all hell would break loose, and like people would come out and like hula hoop and like fire eaters, and Jason Sudeikis was in like a tracksuit and he was just doing the Running Man the whole time. People would like play the ukulele. It was just like all this madness, and
that's
then
chaos.
It was over, and then they would go back. That's one of the only sketches that I ever liked from Keenan Thompson, but I'm not a huge.
That's
Keenan
cool.
Sounds like you're discussing SNL stuff. I'm so sorry, guys.
That's okay.
It turns out, so I changed my my internet provider just since the last stream, and it turns out that this computer that I'm using right now was connecting to an old Wi-Fi network that's just really crappy, and so it was like confused, and so I had to connect to the correct Wi-Fi network. It's like, oh my god. Like,
you're all good. It happens to us all.
Hopefully things will be fine from now on, and like this is the ultimate test, because I have not unsubscribed from my old internet provider yet because I have like a 30-day free trial of this new one, and I wanted to say let's before I unsubscribe, let's see if this is going to be good for my live streaming or not.
Good.
Yeah,
This is a litmus test. This is a litmus test. Let's do it.
Yes, exactly. So sorry about that, guys. Yeah. Do you want to go back to what I was in the middle of before?
Yeah, please. Yeah. Of course.
So what was I saying? I was like, so my Lee example, my Lee example did come up, right? And then I was going on to say that it wasn't just a him thing. So my I mentioned last week one of my other exes, Andrew, has been kind of coming back in the picture, and he's been doing that sort of thing as well, telling me that you know, he didn't matter as much to me as what I mattered to him, because, you know, I wrote this I have an unpublished book of collection of stories and poetry and stuff that I'm planning on publishing, but I haven't published it yet because the one story that I had written about Andrew, he asked me to pull because there were parts of it that he didn't like and he was like taking offense to, and I'm like, I don't understand why, but okay, I will respect your wishes. But I didn't feel comfortable publishing it without having anything about him in there. There's like one other like fictional piece that I had written for him in there, which he seems to have forgotten. So it's like these different things that he's like telling me, these are signs that I don't matter to you as much as what your other people did. And I'm just like, you're just putting all of these ideas in your mind about, you know, making these presumptions without actually talking to me and listening to the things that I've said. So I've found that I've just started to get really irrationally angry about this kind of behavior. My ex-husband did the same thing, like, you know, or you don't care about me because you're spending all your time doing improv. And like any time that I tried to show and like do the things that was being asked of me, it was like those things were getting ignored. And so now I'm like, I've just noticed this is a trigger for me now, and I will get angry and I'll get defensive or I'll shut down, and I just won't, like, I'm just like, I'm not going to engage in this anymore, because if you're not going to listen to me tell you why you're wrong, and you're not willing to have a conversation with me about it, I don't think we can have anything productive resolution to come from this.
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a lack of communication and filling that lack of communication with assumptions.
Yeah.
And just, you know, people, that is really frustrating. Mm-hmm. What about you, Sharad? What makes you?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have to kind of piggyback on that, actually. Like, it is something that really does irritate me when people gaslight you into the way you feel, or even, you know, they try to kind of go back in time and change the history of events. And I'm just like, okay, look, even prior to me falling ill, my memory was pretty good. And, you know, and when people say X, Y, Z happened, you did this or did that, I'm like, I don't think that's quite how it happened, my friend. Like, you know, like, don't bullshit a bullshitter is something that like someone would say. And yeah, it's like, I understand that in our own collective, how should we say, mindsets, we all are the center of our universes, right? Whether we like to admit it or not, we are. And I just don't like the idea that what really, really gets me going is people who want to, like, you know how people say, and this irritates me, I apologize to whoever's watching that might feel irritated, but when people say things like, oh, it's my truth, right? That really irritates me, because that means that nothing is subjective. Everything's open to interpretation. Facts aren't facts. I'm like, you know, so that gets me going quite a bit. But it's a lesson in humility and trying to rein in one's own temper. So in some ways, I'm grateful for when it happens, because I'm just like, center yourself, be one. so yeah.
I'm trying to get to a place of being like, okay, take a step back. I'm not going to react to how I'm actually feeling. This is why I shut down now. I'm like, I'm going to take into consideration how I'm feeling here before I respond to it. But I'm like, I want to understand and I want clarity. But like in the case with Andrew, like he finally responded to my last message over the weekend, and I replied to him like, there's things that you've said to me here that I don't completely understand. Can we have a video call to like clear things up? Because that would help the communication for me, because the text-based communication, I feel like we've had a lot of misunderstandings in that way. And I would prefer to clear this up on a kind of one-to-one, face-to-face, real-time conversation. And he still hasn't responded to that. I'm just like, so what is it that you want? You just want to send me messages and have me ignore them? You don't want to actually have like rebuild some semblance of a friendship? Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm trying to find a middle ground here, you know, like, because that's one of the things I feel like I learned from the challenges that I had with Lee is like, okay, I made assumptions where I could have asked for clarity. So I'm trying to do that here. Like, I don't want to make assumptions. I want to ask for clarity. But if they're not being receptive, then what are you supposed to do? Like,
Right. I always go back to that saying, you can only, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
right.
Right. So it's one of those things.
I have one of my other exes I've not given a name to on this stream yet, but if you read the memoir in the future, the name I use for him is Craig, not the same Craig who was a guest on the live stream several episodes ago. So just FYI. But this guy, Craig, he's one of my closest friends, and I will go to him for advice and like help me understand men when they come at me with this like weird stuff. Like, tell me, what does this mean? And then sometimes he'll be like, I don't know. And so I just had a call with him just before this live stream as well, and he was like, yeah, I think it's a them thing, not a you thing, because you have never made me feel the way that these guys seem to be interpreting your things. I'm like, thank you. I'm glad it's just it's a pattern, but it seems to be a pattern in the men that I choose rather than something that I'm causing necessarily.
Mike, what about you?
My original answer was lack of respect, but the more I was thinking about that, I started realizing it's not necessarily the lack of respect that I think really angers me. It's the dismissiveness in people's lack of respect. I mean, they go hand in hand with each other, but it's the people who show their status and flaunt it in your face, whatever that status is. And even if that status is manufactured, that just drives me up a fucking wall. I just want to punch people right in the face.
And how do you behave when that happens?
Sometimes I get in their face about it. There's been times that I've been at Lucky's bar and people think that just because I'm a bartender, that they get to treat me a certain way, that I work for them. And while there very much is an element of truth to that dynamic, you don't get to treat me that way. You don't.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You're not going to get your drink. Oh, I'm sorry. You've had too much to drink tonight. Maybe go find another bar.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And sometimes I eat it. Sometimes I just eat crow because like confronting the situation will make it that much worse.
Right.
Yeah.
So every situation's different. You just have to, and sometimes you push back when pushing back ought not to be pushed. And sometimes you swallow it when you know you could have won that fight, and it's
Oh yeah, no, I've definitely done that. Is it worth my time though?
Yeah, is it worth the time? Is it worth the blood pressure? Is it worth the anger, like the 3 or 4 days of frustration that follows? Is it worth all of that? I don't know. People are assholes, and they're just always going to be assholes. Which I guess that's why we should carry around those Preparation H wipes to give to people when they're just being a real asshole.
Actually, it's really funny. When I was a bartender, I had similar experiences, not as thankfully more positive than negative. But one thing I've come to realize, and I use this in my own modern kind of living situation right now, is that whenever someone gives me crap or anything, I kind of go the other way. I become super subservient intentionally. I'm like, oh, I am so sorry. Let me just stop whatever I'm doing. What can I give you? What do you need? Please tell me. And they'll get really awkward. They'll be like, no, it's fine, and they'll walk off. I'm like, please, but oh, sorry.
Yeah, they'll walk off all right.
Wait, Sharad
And now
is
you're muted.
muted.
Hello. There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. Got too excited there. Yeah, like then they'll walk off, and I'll just be like, but I need help. But you told me you need something, please. And then they'll leave me alone. And to be fair, that has come back to bite me, as Mike was saying. There have been times where, let's say, because I am an independent contractor, a freelancer, that has gotten me into trouble more times than I care to admit. I've lost jobs, I've lost roles because I'm a bit of a smartass sometimes, but it's something that you have to live and learn with. There's only so much you can take. So
Right.
yeah, it's up to you to balance.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's an incompatibility with the people that hire you as well, and you get to choose. Do you want to work with somebody? Yeah. So sometimes it means that you lose a job, but
Next question.
money's not everything.
Hold on,
No,
Frank's got something.
yeah, my dad has left a comment
Frank is
in response.
here.
Yeah.
So my dad says most conflicts seem to be stimulated by unresolved past histories, sometimes all the way back to childhood. Whatever the trigger, it brings up feelings of not coping, fear, being out of control, more. Exactly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, well done.
Fear is such a big motivator.
Oh yeah, I feel like we've talked about fear in a lot of different kind of examples and circumstances, and absolutely, it's definitely gotten in my way in the past for sure. Oh, my dad's got another comment for us here. It is an opportunity to heal if awake. More often, it is reactive as the primitive brain stimulates fear first. Yeah, this is why
This kind of breaks down to the old flight versus fight rule, isn't it? Like the idea of either you stand your ground or you flee. It's the animalistic reptile part of your brain.
Yeah, this is why I'm trying more to step back and be reflective before doing my immediate reaction of what my instincts want me to do now. And I try to think about like what's actually going on with the other person and
freeze. You say fight or flight, but freeze is is one of the other ones. I'm a freeze.
Are you?
Fawn, yes.
Yeah.
Freeze and fawn.
Yeah, Lee is a freezer for sure. I've had that conversation with him.
Fawn, Jared, if you're not familiar, fawn is more of the fall down and let the bear maul you.
Yeah, people pleasing, that sort of thing. Like, blowing smoke up the person's ass in order to get them to calm down, that sort of thing. I've done all 4 of those fear responses. Like it really depends on the circumstances and the situation, and what else is coming up for me, and I guess my historical context of like what is being triggered from my past memory and how did I respond to it in the past, kind of thing. What is this situation reminding me of? So I think I've talked about this before. I've now identified myself as having like a disorganized attachment style, which means I'm all over the place in terms of how I'll respond or react to things, because it really, really depends on what the other person is giving me. So much.
So in that regard, this is one of the things that improv has really helped me with. Pitch for improv.
So good.
How has improv helped you, Michael?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Please share with the group.
I have noticed, well, I mean, I've always been the person who freezes. In a fear response, I freeze, and the mechanics in my brain just stop working. So I can't think through a problem. The problem continues to happen to me, but I can't get myself to flee. I can't get myself to fight back. And yeah, I'm always kind of left, whatever. Anyway, so improv has really, 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 really helped me, not by figuring out how to get myself out of those situations, but by putting myself into similar and simulated situations. My body, and specifically my brain, now has the muscle memory of being in those fear-based situations, so that I can slowly and safely, I'm gonna sneeze.
Nice one.
So that I can safely not only get myself out of those situations, but have that muscle memory of knowing what to do as opposed to freeze. And maybe that's fun, because fawning is better than freezing. Running is better than freezing.
Yep.
And fighting is better than freezing. I feel like the worst thing you can do is freeze, because now you are the subject of attack. All those other 3, fawning, fleeing, and fighting, those are all active responses.
But sometimes the freezing is the safest response. If that is your automatic response, then something in your past kind of taught you that was the safest way to respond to a situation, was to not respond.
I don't think it was the safest way to respond to a situation. I think it was because I never had been given the tools how to respond to a situation. So by default, I don't know what to do. So I just do nothing. And that became my comfort zone, so to speak, because I didn't know any other way.
That makes sense.
Do you think maybe as well freezing, there's 2 different aspects to it? One is defense, as it was, but another one could be to take the power away from the person attacking you. Maybe if
I talk about this all the time. I talk about this all the time in terms of improv. Silence is your friend. On stage, silence is your friend. But as a performer, we're so scared of silence, especially in comedy, because if nobody's laughing, that means you're doing a bad job. Or at least that's the perceived idea. So how is silence your friend? You have a choice between doing nothing and having nothing to do. So in that fight or flight response, I had nothing to do, so I would freeze. Rather, if you do nothing, that's a choice. You are making an active decision to do nothing. Thereby, you are in control.
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought about it that way. Yeah. Do nothing or nothing to do. That's interesting.
Yeah.
My dad has another comment for us here. So the proactive choice is conscious and seeks more information and data. Communication and unity seem the goal over reaction.
Yeah.
Can you pull that comment back up for a second?
Yes.
I want to make a callback to last week's conversation in how I'm a terrible speller, and you guys said conscience is conscience, but
Yeah.
right there,
That's
Frank
conscious.
says
Conscious.
And so I'm looking at that thinking, well, that is not spelled conscience. There's conscious.
Because it's not because
conscience.
he said conscious, not conscience.
So this is one of the words that I don't know off the
How
top
to
of my
spell.
head. I never know how to spell because they're so conflated in my brain.
Yeah.
Conscious, conscience.
Yeah, there's conscious, consciousness, concise. There's a lot of different.
I just can't get it
Yeah.
straight.
No worries, I get you, bro. I get you. What else does Frank have to say?
Yeah, here's
There we
another
go.
comment. So all 4 auto responses work in life and death situations in the animal world. In humanity, the fears aren't necessarily life and death. Yeah, but
I
we
mean,
still
sure.
have when we get triggered, our body still reacts as if they're life and death situations, even if they're not. Because it's like it's even because the ego kind of treats it as life or death. It's like if my ego is hurt, then this is life or death for my ego. Like my ego could die in this situation. And I feel like that's kind of what can come up here.
Ego. Sorry, I thought of something else and then it escaped me. Never mind. Moving on.
Could this ego also be described as the ego of preserving a relationship, a friendship? Maybe it could be like, oh, if I don't do this, they might see me lower than I actually am. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's part of ego. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Like a self-protection, self-preservation kinds of things. Like I'm worried that if I say the wrong thing, then this person is going to see me differently. Yeah, I think that's all part of ego for sure.
I am very quickly reminded of the song, This is a Self-Preservation Society. Do you guys know that song?
Nope.
No.
Ooh, it's a good one.
What's it from?
Say what?
What's it from?
I believe it's an English band. It starts off with an English football chant, and then it just goes into like this really cheery, happy, upbeat. This is a self-preservation society, and then keep repeating it. It's a great song.
There's a lot of things that we do for self-preservation. I feel like that the way to grow is to be willing to be open to not preserving your sense of self.
FYI, Mike, it's called Get a Blooming Move On by Quincy Jones from 1969.
Quincy Jones!
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so homework, everyone. Listen to the song after the stream. There you go.
I didn't realize it was Quincy Jones.
Cool.
There we go.
Whose daughter I only learned. Do you guys know who Quincy Jones's daughter is?
Mm-mm.
Tell us.
I only learned this like 3 years ago. It blew my mind. Rashida Jones.
Really?
From Parks and Rec. From.
Yeah.
She was in.
That's right.
The Office. She's. You know Rashida Jones.
He's got 7 kids. That's insane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or one of his daughters, shall I?
Right.
Interesting. My dad has another comment for us.
Let's hear
it. Ego in my dad's use isn't Freudian. It is projecting a false self we project, but is a mask we want to be seen as.
Yeah. Of course, it's a portrayal of who you are, right?
Yeah. Do you guys feel like you wear a mask that you present to the world, or do you feel like, or are there situations where you feel like you do that, and others where you're more authentic?
100%.
Of course.
Are you kidding me?
Give
Of course.
give
Of
us
course.
some examples. Give us some examples. Let's
So
let's
the way
dive
that
deep
I
into
act
this.
around my buddies is not going to be the same way I act around the Queen of England.
Right.
Like, who you are is altered given your current situation. You know, and hopefully I speak for most people in the world when I say I think we're all trying to be the most authentic versions of ourselves, but the most authentic version of yourself keeps changing based on what situation you're in. If you're at work, it's going to be different than when you're at the bar. Which is going to be different from when you are hanging out with your wife's friends, which is going to be different from Super Bowl Sunday, like, you know, like meeting different people. Here's a true. This is such a New York story, but it just happened literally 2 days ago. I'm on the train. I had some friends doing an improv show that I went to go see. It was improvised Stephen King, actually. Really cool concept.
Ooh, nice.
So I live in Harlem. I jump on the train at 125th Street, and as soon as the doors open, I walk on the train, and who is there? Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall, from News Radio, from like one of the most I'm not going to say one of the most famous comedians, but a very famous
Iconic one.
comedian. Famous comedian, yeah. And he was just sitting there on the train, just scrolling through his phone, and there was an open seat right next to him, and it was still like one of those things of like, if I sit right next to him, it's not going to be awkward because it's crowded enough that I am justified taking the seat right next to him, right? So I sat right next to him, and you know, I wrote like a little thing out on my phone and said it was something like, apologies, but are you a Mr. Foley? And so I typed it out, and then I kind of showed it to him, and he takes his headphones out and he goes, "Oh yeah, how's it going? I'm Dave." I'm like, "Whoa." Okay, so the whole reason that I tell
That's
you
awesome.
that, right? And then, you know, we talked about comedy and talk shop and whatever, and it was great. He's a beautiful human being, by the way. Beautiful, beautiful soul, just a wonderful man.
Nice.
The whole reason that I brought this up is I am not going to talk to Dave Foley the way that I teach my improv class. Even though like that's the you know, I'm not gonna fuck this and fuck that and fuck, right? I'm not gonna talk to him the same way that I would be if I were at game night. You know, we all change who we are ever so slightly. To hopefully present the best version of our, not even the best version of ourselves, but the version of ourselves that we think are going to be received the best.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Did you and Dave exchange contacts now that you guys are homies?
He asked, so I told him about my TV show, and he.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if he was feigning interest, but you know, he seemed interested, and he was asking me about it. And just before I got off the train at my stop, he said, "Hey, remind me the name of your TV show again. Remind me the name of your company." And I told him, and it looked as though he was trying to like retain that information. So
that's cool, man. That's a great story. That's awesome.
Really sweet guy. Really sweet guy.
That's actually really sweet because you know sometimes when you meet your heroes, they don't quite turn out the way you hope them to be. So that sounds like a fantastic story.
Yeah,
That's true.
And apparently we live off of the same train line, so maybe I'll just live on the A train in perpetuity.
Yeah,
if I
right.
just continually bump into Dave Foley.
Hope that you run into him again.
Hey, what are you doing? I thought you lived in Harlem. Yes, I'm visiting this part of the city because yeah.
This isn't where I parked my car.
I have not met Dave Foley, but I have seen him perform. There was an SF Sketchfest event back in 2017, I think, when I performed there with my improv group, Yum. And so I was able to get free tickets to whatever that had tickets available for. And so there was a night that I think Kevin McDonald was doing a podcast, and then Dave Foley was a guest on it. So the tickets were mostly like almost sold out, but I managed to get in for free. And so that was a cool opportunity. Yeah. I was more familiar with Dave Foley's work than Kevin McDonald because I was a big fan of News Radio. I didn't watch Kids in the Hole, but I was a big fan of News Radio.
News Radio was so good. I even brought up his improv show that he did in the early 2000s called Thank God You're Here. And his response was almost though he had forgotten that show existed. He was like, "Oh, how do you know about that show?" I have my story. I'm an improv nerd, man. Like, I know.
I've just looked up Dave Foley, and obviously I know he is. I love him. He's just such a nice guy, isn't he?
Yep.
So,
yep,
yeah,
that's
it. Sweet guy. He's great. He's a great comedic actor.
Yeah, very, very funny.
Mm-hmm. I feel like for me with the mask question, I've talked about being autistic before, and a common thing that is discussed about being autistic is that we often have to mask in certain social situations because our authentic selves are not received well by other people. But I've been, since learning that I'm autistic, I've been slowly and but surely trying to unmask in as many situations as possible just to be more my authentic self. So yes, I'll still be more professional in professional situations, but it's been important to me to try and be more authentic everywhere, because that is going to be more likely to attract the people that respect me for who I am rather than who I present as, because I'm trying to impress someone or I'm trying to get people to like me. But it can be a challenge. Absolutely can be a challenge.
I think it's helpful that we're living in a world where science is always being updated on a daily basis. So let's say when you have someone with a condition like autism or any other form of medical condition, we are learning more, and it's becoming, the stigma is every day it's going lower and lower, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that's something that's very, very helpful.
Your dad has one more comment
that
I kind of think fits into this portion of our conversation.
So, authentic true self can't be harmed. Ego is always defensive and protected. At the same time, unconsciously doubts its own projection. Ego attacks itself regularly. Yeah, this is why I've talked about this a few times on various streams, but this is why I tried to embrace the more shameful, embarrassing parts of myself, like talking under a pseudonym under my ex's live streams, because that's something I was ashamed of. But if I embrace it, then that's my authentic self, and I'm people can't harm me if I'm admitting to it. If it gets found out another way, then somebody confronts me about it, then I'll be like, oh no, that wasn't me. But if I'm open and honest, I did that. Was it regrettable? Sure, but I learned from it. And that's the best way to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of something that happened quite a while ago. I want to say maybe almost 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. I've always been a nerd, surprise, surprise, right? And I remember I was out with my cousin and his friends. We were on a night out, and we were on a boys' night out, right? And I remember just one day we were just talking, and I was just talking nonstop about superheroes and what have you. And I remember three of them looked at each other and went, "Dude, you're a geek." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And they were like, "That's awesome." I'm like, "Ah." So when you actually embrace it, then you take the bullets out of that gun, you take the arrows out of that quiver, and you suddenly have from bare chested, you have the suit of armor on, and yeah, it's true.
You'd be like, I'm sorry, am I supposed to be ashamed of that? Of course it's true.
Actually, well, that's the thing. I kind of lean into it. They'll be like, "Oh my god, you're a geek." I'm like, "Yeah, I am. It's awesome." And then they're like, "Okay, fine, yeah, sure."
I think that it's possible to be more respected as a result of sorry, I'm just saying the comment. That's Mike, you've left a comment for us. I will get to that in a second.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I feel like when you do own up to stuff, then there will be people out there who will respect you more for owning up to that sort of thing, right? Because people will see that and it's like, oh man, I admire that this person is embracing this thing that other people would shy away from. I feel like this is one of the reasons I feel like Andrew has come back and wants to be more engaged in my life again, is because he's been watching from a distance without communicating with me. He's been watching from a distance, like my blog and my videos and stuff, and seeing, oh man, you're living such an interesting life. I kind of want to be a part of that. And I was like, that's what happens when you live your authentic self and you're not trying to impress anyone. People notice and then they want to be a part of that. All right, I will bring up. Shall I bring up this question from Gotta Love Them Movies, which I'm pretty sure is Mike.
No, it's not me. I don't know what you're talking about. This is a random viewer.
A random viewer.
Right now.
I have been a guest on Gotta Love Them Movies.
Stop breaking the illusion.
All right, okay. This is some random viewer.
Don't ruin this for me.
Sorry.
What a thoughtful question you asked. Gotta love them movies.
Yeah.
What's something you've done in your life that took you a while to own up to? Before we answer that question, though, I'll just bring up my dad's comment as well. So this was in previously in response
the
to
truth shall set you free.
Okay, so the question is, what's something you've done in your life that took you a while to own up to?
FYI, Gotta Love the Movies is a very interesting channel with 655 subscribers, now has 656. So if you get a chance, go on YouTube, subscribe to Gotta Love Them Movies.
There's some great videos there. I am familiar with that channel. I've watched it.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
Nice.
I do love them movies. I love discussing movies. Very topical channel of sharing what was in the movie news.
I'm not contributing anything because I'm unfamiliar with this channel.
Yeah, you've never heard of them, yeah. Okay, Dominica, so what's something you've done in your life that took you a while to own up to?
My best example that just came into my top of my head was something that I confessed to a couple of streams ago. The thing where I my dad had confronted me when I was in my mid-teens about what happened to his porn, and I never.
Do we need to go back down this road again?
That's my best example because of how long it took, right? Because that was 25 years ish it took me to own up to that on the live stream, which I knew my dad was going to watch. And Dad, please don't comment on it now since you are watching now. You weren't when I discussed it before, but I knew you were going to watch it. But yeah, that's my best example just because it took 25 years.
And it's so topical.
So topical.
How about you, Sharad?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think I might have discussed this. Correct me if I'm wrong. When I was in the UK, I had a very yes. When I was in the UK, I had this very, very nasty habit of wanting to make people believe I was better than I actually was. I wanted to project the best version of myself. I wanted, like, I'm not ashamed to say that I didn't just.
Ego.
Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say that I didn't just embellish. I actually lied quite often. I would say that I spoke multiple languages when I can barely speak English, right? And things like that, or I traveled the world, etc. And I just wanted I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to just be a part of groups.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time, because it took me a long time to realize what I was doing was not healthy, not just to myself, but to the people around me, to my friends. And I just realized, like, just because you haven't had an opportunity to do something, or you haven't achieved something X, Y, Z, doesn't mean you're not an uninteresting person. It just means you still have a ways to go, and you have your own life experiences to share.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those things where it definitely took a while to learn and grow. And there were very painful lessons, unfortunately, because sometimes either your friends either don't want to reconnect, or even projecting onto yourself, you're so embarrassed about the way you behave that you just have to distance yourself. But it's all about growth, so it does take time. But it's something that I think it took me a while, but I'm glad I got there in the end.
You got there.
What about you, Mike? Something you've done that took a while to own up to.
Say what?
I was just repeating the question.
This is a story that I thought of before writing the question. This is something that got all of the movies has thought of before. Anyway. It's not a great story, but I remember a long time ago when I was a kid, my brother got to the age where he got his driver's license, and he could drive me around to all of the things that I needed to go do, like Boy Scouts or band or whatever. And my parents didn't have to drive me anymore. But because it was me and my brother in the car, of course, brothers get on each other's nerves very quickly. And on multiple occasions, we would just get out into, like, obviously we couldn't get into physical altercations, but we would like yell and scream at each other. And so there was this one day, I don't even know what we were arguing about, but we were yelling and screaming at each other. And I think for the first time in my life, I told him to shut the fuck up and just using the F. Like, I never swore. Like, that was a cardinal sin. Like, public enemy #1 for cursing. But he made me so angry, I told him to shut the fuck up. And that just set him off. And yelling and swearing, how dare, don't you ever, all this stuff, right? And I was so angry. We pulled into the driveway at home, got out of the car. I slammed the door shut, and then I kicked it. And I left a huge dent in the side of the door.
Oh, dear.
Have I told this story before?
No. You didn't tell us about the time you hulked out. Yeah, jeez.
And so, yeah, I left this massive dent in the side of the door. And all of that anger, everything instantly turned into fear. It all melted away. I was no longer angry. Now I was terrified that my parents were going to find out, and I was going to get in so much trouble. So the way that we always parked that car so we had like the driveway that leads up to the garage, right? And the garage was separate from the house. But then there was, let me use these shampoo bottles. All right. So,
we love props.
Is that, like, here's the driveway, right? Mm-hmm. Leading up to the garage, right? Mm-hmm. And then off to the side, I'm trying not to show these labels. Then off to the side, there was like a separate place with like hedges, like a big old hedge going this way. And you could park the car on the street, but it was like there was no longer a sidewalk, and I was just like street parking, but it wasn't on the street. It was on like this sidewalk that isn't a sidewalk. Anyway, so all of that is to say, when you back the car up, it was right next to the hedges, and the dent was being hidden by the hedges. And of course, I was on the passenger side, right? And I was just like, what do I do? So I just ran inside. My dad was like, hey, how's Scouts? And I'm like, fine. And I just ran to my room. I was like, I don't know what to do. I can't, like, I'm freaking out right now. Can't tell anybody what's, and like, of course, my brother knew that I kicked the door. He was there. And why he didn't tell my parents, I have no idea, because he was so angry at me. He had all the reason to throw me under the bus, but he didn't.
Did he notice that it was dented?
So that's part of the story, of which I will fast forward to. No, he didn't, because it took years for me to understand this. He was so angry, he didn't pay attention that I kicked the door. He just didn't even know. So anyway, we sleep on it. I'm just a ball of nerves. I can't own up to it. I know I'm going to be in so much trouble. I can't own up to it. So the next day, my dad takes the car, and of course, like, he jumps in the driver's seat. The whole passenger side is covered by the hedges. He can't see the dent. He gets in the car, drives to work, comes home later that day. He is pissed. He's so angry because he saw the dent. Like, at some point throughout his workday, he saw the dent, and he comes home and he goes, how did this dent get here? Bro, who knows anything about this? And that's when I'm like, I'm caught. I know I'm dead meat right now. And my dad said, you know how I think this dent got here? And I'm like, here it comes. My dad's gonna tear my head off. I think it was those high school kids. Martin, you're always driving this car to school, to the high school. I think, well, you had it parked in the parking lot. One of those damn high school kids came and hit the car and just ran off. And I was like, you know what? If this is what Dad chooses to believe, I am not going to be the person to correct him. Fast forward like 20 years. I'm I'd already graduated high school. I, moved to Ireland. I came back. I went to college. Now I have a full-fledged job working at Lucky's Bar, right? I rarely come home because I have a life here in New York and, all that stuff. So one of those times that I actually did go home to visit my parents, we're all in the car, we're driving somewhere, and I go, hey guys, do you remember that car that we used to have like 20 years ago, and you found a dent in the door and you thought it was the... Turns out I got into an argument with my brother and I kicked the dent in the door. And they were like, what? Why didn't you say anything? And I'm like, well, I'm 30 years old. You're not going to ground me now. I had every reason to keep that to myself, because you already had a scapegoat. Sorry, that was a much longer story than I.
That's hilarious.
Share, but
that's a great story, though.
That's a great story.
Similar length of time, how long it took you to own up to it, that my story was.
Many years.
Which wasn't even if anyone wants the full story of my confession, they can watch it a few streams back.
Oh, we're gonna turn it into an Instagram reel.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No. If I was talking about corn.
Corn.
If I was talking about corn, I'm
Gotcha.
not turning that one into a reel.
Corn.
All right, you ready for another question from the deck? Another about question.
Si, senor.
Senorita?
Si, senor.
Gender's fluid.
You misgendering me right now, Sharad. I feel offended.
It's 2025. I'm sure someone will figure something out.
Describe something that's exciting in your life right now. Something exciting in your life.
TV show. Moving on. YouTube.
Yeah, because you've talked about it enough already, Michael. Tell us more about your TV show.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I have a TV show.
Oh yeah, just a TV show. Yeah, just that little chestnut. Yeah,
I have
yeah.
a TV show. Yeah.
I think for me, it's like I've started a new job recently, part time as a teacher for senior, like not senior, like a secondary student, so aged 13 to 16. And the nice kids, I'm teaching them film writing and like creating characters, creating a story, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but there are some tricky bits. Obviously, I worry: am I engaging enough? Am I going on and on? Am I repeating myself? Am I missing stuff out? But it's fun. So, but it's definitely a lot of trial and error so far. I've only had 1 week, so we'll see how it goes.
No, it's great that you're doing that. Sounds like a great opportunity, and you get to impart your knowledge on the next generation. So
that's a dream job right there, man. That's a straight up dream job. What an absolute boon it is to be in that position, to do what you love and to continue the legacy of excitement.
Yeah, right. And the thing is, even though these kids might not have like encyclopedic kind of knowledge on cinema per se, because technology is so abundant and it's everywhere. Like they're so bright. These kids are, dare I say, more equipped than 30-year-olds like 10 years ago, if you think about it. So yeah, it's incredible.
Well, you also have this, just the sheer nature of people signing up for a thing. Just because someone signed up for it, that means they're interested in it, which means they're going to get so much more out of it, as opposed to, well, this is part of the curriculum when you're in high school and you're being subject to it, whether you like it or not.
True. Yeah, I remember, for example, with me with math, I hated math, math hated me. It was a very mutual relationship. And yeah, you can tell, like, I was already switched off.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Dominica? What have you got?
For my exciting thing, I feel like my exciting stuff is more fleeting experiences. So the most exciting stuff from my past week, for example, I got to go see some stand-up comedians who are reasonably well known, depending on how much you follow comedy. I'll talk about the first one first. I went to see Josh Johnson on Friday night, who, if you're not familiar with him, he's currently a correspondent on The Daily Show. I started following him on Instagram before I knew that he was a correspondent on Daily Show, but I think they kind of happened at a similar time. Like he started working for The Daily Show around the same time that I discovered him on Instagram. And I was doing stand-up comedy a bunch last year, and so there was a local stand-up comedian who lives nearby. I knew that he was a fan of Josh Johnson as well, and was keen to see him perform. So when I knew that tickets were going on sale for Josh Johnson, I reached out. I was like, do you want me to buy tickets for both of us? Because I know it's going to sell out fast. It's the venue was at the Palace of Fine Arts, which is if you've seen any movies set in San Francisco, they probably use the Palace of Fine Arts in it. You might be familiar with the outside part of it, where it's like a bunch of columns and some angels like leaning over the top parts of the columns and stuff like that, used in so many movies, including So I Married an Ex-Murderer, The Bachelor,
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Is it? I don't know if it's in that one. The Rock. Anyway, a bunch of films. You'd be familiar, but there's a theater there as well, which you can't tell from the outside. So it's very close to the Golden Gate Bridge. Very hard to get to on public transport, which means I very rarely get tickets to go anywhere at this to this venue, just because I hate driving to or in San Francisco. But Josh Johnson was someone I was like, I really have to see this. So I'm like, I'm glad that I could ask somebody who could join me, because every other time that I've gone to the Palace of Fine Arts recently, I went by myself, and it's a pain in the ass to kind of drive there. And so this friend that I asked, he was like, yes, happy to. Since he lives close to me, but his place isn't on the way for the venue, but he also doesn't drive. I offered to give him a ride, like pick him up from his place before we went there. And he was like, oh, I can come to you. I'm like, I'm already driving anyway. It's no big deal. And then so he offered to give me gas money. I'm like, yeah, sure, you can do that. And then he sent me $30 for gas. And I'd filled up the gas the day before, or petrol if you're not American. And yes, it's not an LPG car. And I filled up my petrol tank the day before and paid like $60. So he paid for half of a tank of petrol, basically. Now there's also a toll to drive to San Francisco, which is like $8. But I'm just like, that is way more than you needed to pay me. Like I told him, like after I picked him up, like you did not need to pay me that much. Like that's way more than you needed to pay. And because like I would have been, regardless of whether he was with me or not, I would have been paying the amount to drive there, right? So I just, he was like, he was, it just felt really nice that he was that generous. And it was kind of a reminder that there are people like that are happy to be that generous. Because I had a conversation with him on the way over. I was like, I'm really not used to people being like that, because my ex-husband was not like that at all. So I'm just like, it was a nice reminder that there are people that just want to help out in whatever, like more than is necessary. I'm like, that's nice. Because normally when I don't even do that. I had a friend drive me to an improv show that we were both going to which was also a distance away in Walnut Creek a few weeks ago. I didn't offer to pay him any money because he makes a lot of money and I was unemployed, so I wasn't thinking about that. But anyway, we had a great time at the show. Josh Johnson was amazing. The following night, I went to see Jimmy O Yang, which we talked about last week in the rom-com stream that we did. So yeah, I got to see him perform as well. And that was my second time seeing Jimmy O Yang perform. It was really funny because when he got up and he like apologized for the neighborhood that the theater was in, like he was like, he'd told the promoter or whoever was booking the venue, like, I don't want to do the Warfield again because of the, it was in a not a great neighborhood. The theater that it was this time was the Golden Gate Theater, which is across the street from the Warfield. And so
that's hilarious.
His comment was like, I'm sorry, I didn't know I should try to get venue in a different neighborhood, but it's just across the street. So yeah, I had a lot of fun at both of those shows. So getting to go out and see cool comedians is one of the things that is exciting for me, and people doing generous things for me. This friend bought me dinner as well before the show. I was like,
that's nice. That's really
like,
nice.
Way more than you needed to do, but thank you.
I think it's become like almost a surprise to every one of us, where the smallest gesture can mean so much, which is nice, because at the same time we're so used to, I don't want to say a dog eat dog kind of world, but where or everyone has an agenda, but in a world where post-COVID, where everyone's so careful of their resources, whenever someone does give you some sort of semblance of generosity, it's so surprising, and it hits you a lot more.
Yeah. So that's my answer. Mike, do you have anything else exciting in your life that is not your TV show that you can pull from?
I mean, the whole reason I said it the way that I did was because I don't want to just keep harping on it. Like it is in this huge thing in my life right now that is so exciting, and I'm excited to see where it goes, and maybe it'll fail spectacularly, and I'm kind of interested to see how all that's going to turn out. I don't know, but I'm ridiculously excited about it.
That's good.
But yeah, I also don't want it to just be like the I don't want this stream to be my platform to constantly advertise it. And then
Look, it's not like I have that many viewers that it's going to impact your audience very much anyway.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
There you
go. Yeah, this weekend, I volunteered for the Winter Film Festival.
Oh, nice.
That what, Monday? Whoa, so it was just last night. That's wild. I got at the awards ceremony. I got to be the awards presenter for Best Picture, so that was pretty cool.
Oh wow, that's huge! Congratulations, man.
I did Best Web Series and Best Picture. My first year, I do it every year, but it's my first year doing Best Picture, so it was pretty fun. Yeah, I don't know. Dave Foley was really exciting. Yeah.
All right. Well, looks like we do have another question in the chat from someone who looks.
Is it from Gotta Love Them Movies?
Strangely like Sharad, and seems to have a twin name with Sharad.
What? I don't know why.
Identity theft is not cool, guys. Okay.
I know what's going on there. Like,
that's clearly not Sharad.
No, definitely not.
It's a very different person.
Yeah, a much younger, skinnier, better-looking person with more hair. Yeah, for sure.
It's your twin, or someone is trying to catfish us as you, Sharad. That's what's going on here.
That's the most likely thing.
That seems to be
Let's
the most obvious, right? Yeah. So Sharad asks, what's a little thing that instantly brightens your day?
I don't know. I think we should give this over to the real Sharad. Because he's the one that's being impersonated right now.
Yeah. Fair enough. Like for me, it's always been literally the little things, right? Like for example, if you're on your way to get breakfast or whatever, and you and a complete stranger, like, lock eyes and you just exchange a smile, an innocent smile, things like that, like, and even little, like, things where you don't even think about. When the last time I was on the train, I saw this elderly lady came onto the train. She was with a cane and carrying some shopping bags with her, and without even prompting, this guy just stood up and just goes, "Ma'am, would you like to have a seat, please? Like, I'm getting a bit of a cramp in my leg. Like, would you like to have a seat?" And then he just started talking to her. She sat down. "How was your day? What did you do?" And I just went, okay, so I know that we're surrounded by darkness a lot, and a lot of things that don't go to plan, so to say. So when you see something pure, something unrequited, something positive, it just reinvigorates me. And if that's the little thing to what you or another person might be a little thing. To someone else, it can completely set the tone for the entire day. And it's little things like that. Yeah.
I have a good example that's like that. So when I'm driving and I see that somebody is waiting to cross the crosswalk, and I slow down and stop for them, and then they wave at me appreciatively to thank me for the fact that I've slowed down and stopped for them. It's nice to have that little recognition. Because there are a lot of people that don't do that. They like there's times that I have missed seeing people, waiting to cross the crosswalk. So anytime that I do notice, I'm like, oh yes, I get to stop. And they don't always wave and appreciatively, but it is nice to have that like little bit of recognition. My other thing that instantly brightens my day, when my kids want to come and just give me a hug. They come say hi and want to give me a hug. Yeah, it's one of the best things about having kids. So they just like, oh.
Yeah, you get that instant endorphin release every time you hug someone. So yeah, that's for sure. What about you, Mike?
I mean, I think you guys hit the vast majority of them. One thing that popped into my brain was when a song pops up on your playlist that you didn't mean to, or that was unintentional, that is the right song for the right moment. You're kind of caught off guard a little bit. So, like, I had this yesterday when I was walking down to the venue for the award ceremony, and I didn't know what playlist to put on, so I was like, I don't know, just 80s. Let's put on some 80s pop. And it was Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard by Paul Simon. Digga-doo, 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 digga-doo. Mama Pajama rolled out of bed and went to the police.
I feel like I know that song solely because of the Royal Tenenbaums. I think it's on the soundtrack of that.
Great film. Great film.
But yeah, I was like, I'm just strolling through Midtown. I had a full tuxedo on.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, well, it was kind of a swanky affair. So I had a full tux, just walking through Midtown, listening to, Paul Simon. Just, I don't know, it was just one of those perfect moments that, like, I don't know, it just, like, really picked me up. That, and I mean, oh, no, go ahead.
Go on.
There's a million different little things that I pick up on with Kim, my wife. Just there's just like these all sorts of little things that she does or says, or the way she says something, or like the way she'll just like touch my shoulder, or I don't know, the way she like perks up when I have good news. Just all those things just really brings me a lot of joy. But you were gonna
we're not completely jealous at all. Just to piggyback on what Mike was saying about listening to the right song at the right time. This instantly brings me back to I can't even remember when, but I remember I was just walking down the street one day. I think I want to say I was in America at the time, and I was just walking down the street, and there's a song called that I'm walking on sunshine, wow, and that instantly cheered me up. Yeah, and I just started like marching, and I started like finger gunning everyone's going like that whole thing.
You're doing Spider-Man 3
thing.
Evil Peter Parker.
The symbiote Peter Parker, and it just brightened my mood for no apparent reason. And that whole day was this, and it's just little things like that. So yeah, for sure.
I can definitely relate to the song thing as well. Like, I still have an iPod, which is what I currently use to plug into my my car to listen to music in my car, and so I have no idea what is even on that iPod, and so sometimes because I have it playing on random, it'll play a song that I have not heard in forever. It's like, oh yeah, this song. Oh man, I totally forgot about this song. And it's nice
my
to have
emo is coming back. You're like
nostalgic moments. I'm like, oh man, I love this song.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. All right, next question.
Another one from the About You section of Intimacy, or do you want to pick another number?
Michael, what would you prefer?
Let's.
Oh, well, it looks like we actually have a question in the chat.
Really?
From Pineapple Improv.
Oh my goodness!
What?
Another viewer.
Somebody has
Mike,
closed.
Someone has hacked your account, or they're just using like your like name and an icon.
Well, everyone's turning out to be a strange night.
All right. So, what is something that has changed your mood negatively on a dime?
The first thing that pops into my head, if I can piggyback on this, is I'm sure you two have experienced people. I call them energy vampires. You probably have experienced them all the time. So, like a person who walks in with a face like fucking thunder. You know, like that. They have a face like a bulldog chewing a wasp, like the old man face, and that will instantly, like, as soon as they're walking through the door to where you are, you may know them, you may not, but you can just feel the electricity, the static in the air, and you're just like, and that's something that always gets my gears going.
Piggybacking off of that, years ago, I was at the Subway sandwich place.
Nice.
They had a branch in Times Square, and I was just walking by, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to stop in for a sandwich." So I'm standing there waiting in line to order my sandwich, and kind of piggybacking off what you just said, Sharad, there was this guy. He must have been in his like mid-20s. He came up to me and he was asking me if I had any money, and you know that happens all the time. That did put me off.
Times
But
Square,
there
yeah.
was something about this guy, and I've never met anyone like him before, and I have never met anyone like him since. It was as if he was a shell and he had no soul.
Explain.
Sarah, say what?
Explain.
It was almost like there was an evil entity that had replaced like the person on the inside, and it was just there was just this feeling of emptiness, but in his approach, he had like this twinkle in his eye, and he wasn't smiling, but he was almost smiling, and it was like a devious, malicious sense of, this person means me harm, I think. But like, it was almost like the lights. He was like to call him a zombie, like that's not the right term, but like the lights were on, but somebody else was home. It was weird. That's the best I can describe it. But like, I felt so unnerved by this person.
Like your spider sense was tingling the entire time. Yeah.
I feel like that's this sense you can get about someone when they're a genuine psychopath.
I mean, the thought after I, got my sandwich and got the fuck out of there was, I wonder how many people this person has murdered. Like,
Gosh.
it was weird. And I've never met anyone like that before or since.
I'm getting chills just like hearing that thing. Yeah.
It creeps me out. Ugh.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that sounds for me, something that has changed my mood negatively on a dime. The story that comes to mind is when I went to see I can't remember if I've talked about this on the stream or not before. I don't think I have, but it's possible. But I went to see if I did, it was not the whole story. I went to see the Michael Moore film Fahrenheit 11/9. I think that's what it's called, right?
5/11. Fahrenheit
9/11.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
It was the opposite.
Yeah.
Fahrenheit 9/11.
Yeah. I thought they reversed
you're right.
the numbers.
11/9?
I thought the numbers were reversed.
I don't think so.
Fahrenheit 9/11.
Okay. Anyway,
Fahrenheit 9/11.
Maybe I reversed it because I'm Australian. different order for the dates.
All these Aussies, yeah.
And I went to see that movie with my now ex-husband, but he was my husband at the time. And we were, when did that movie come out? It was like 2019, I think.
Let me check with you.
No,
it came
was like
2004. 2004.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not the one then. What was more recent? Is it because I saw it at the movies? Are you sure it's not?
This is the Michael Moore one from that he wrote and he directed. Yes.
Yeah, but I think
yes, 2004.
What's his most recent one?
Michael Moore, his most recent one.
No, see, 2018. There is a Fahrenheit 11/9. I was right. It was the reverse. Yes. There's a Fahrenheit 11/9, And this one's
11-9.
about
Okay.
so and it's
You're
it's
right. Yeah.
more about Trump's presidency.
Ah. Okay.
Well, what do you know?
Oh,
What
but
do you know?
11/9 was probably the election day. So that's
Oh
probably
wow.
yeah. So 2018 that movie came out, and I went to see it with my ex-husband. Our marriage was kind of on the tenterhooks, but we were trying to like be come back together and fix things. And so we went out to see this film. We were both laughing at it. I think there was an earthquake while we were in the film, which just kind of added to the experience.
Oh
It's like,
gosh.
Can imagine.
earthquake.
Yeah.
She's like, no, the film didn't stop. It was like, it's just an earthquake. It was like, so anyway, it added to the experience. And, we're both laughing. We're both like, we're not fans
Hey,
of Trump
Bravos.
Hey,
and
buddy.
stuff. And you're gonna get distracted during my story now.
No,
We're
we're
plastic,
listening.
and I have to get him to stop chewing on plastic.
So then after the film, we were talking about it, and a lot of the film they kind of talk about authoritarian regimes and being like authoritative and that sort of thing. And so I made this comment about how my ex-husband's style of being I guess was, he seems to like, the kind of respect that he wants is authoritative. And my ex-husband maligned my words and thought that I was calling him authoritarian, and then extrapolated that to say that I was calling him a Nazi. And I was like, that is not what I meant at all. But yeah, so again, like I talked about in the very beginning of the stream, like that sort of thing, like a maligning my words to interpret it in a way that is not what I meant. It's like instantly my mood is changed, and I can't, I'm like, how do I deal with this? If you're not going to listen to what I'm actually saying and try to, understand what is going on, then
That's frustrating.
Yeah, it's very tricky because unfortunately we live in a world now where where once you might call someone unpleasant, nowadays you might go, oh, that guy's a Nazi. We're in that world now, aren't we? So it's
I wasn't
very, very
calling
frustrating.
him a Nazi. I just was commenting that the kind of respect that he likes is authoritative respect, rather than in just mutual respect, like respecting someone because they're on the same level as you just give everyone respect. He liked the kind of respect where he had authority, kind of thing. That's what I was trying to say, right? And acknowledging like that this kind of difference. And he extrapolated from me using authoritative to mean authoritarian
Nazi,
to mean
yeah.
Nazi. I'm like,
Nazi,
it's
yeah.
not
I had a
the
very
same thing.
similar interaction, almost identical in a lot of ways to your story, Dominica. There was this girl that I went on. We dated. I mean, we dated for a little while, not that long, but we went. Our movie was Isle of Dogs. We went to go see this movie together, and if you guys are familiar with the movie Isle of Dogs, it's a stop motion film directed by Wes Anderson. It's a really cute movie, but they use a lot of American actors, American accent, Native American accent actors.
And it's set in Japan?
Yes, playing various Asian characters, which obviously didn't... It was kind of as the conversation of like whitewashing really started taking off and becoming a thing. So after the movie, this girl and I were talking about why that kind of stuff happens, and she was just so idealistic against it, as we should all be, right? And I mentioned something to the effect of like, I understand why it happens. Like, I understand the decision-making process. And the way that I described it apparently wasn't, I didn't explain myself well enough, or she was just too far inside of her own ass to hear what I was saying. And she thought that I was in line with,
accepting and approving of it.
Yeah. And then she took it a step further, and she thought that I was very much in support of Harvey Weinstein.
Oh my God.
Like all this stuff. And I'm like, what planet are you living on?
How?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. It was just that she wanted me to be as outraged as she was, and because I wasn't giving off the same level of performative outrage that she had. And so apparently I was doing it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it breaks down to, if you're not with me, you're against me.
Yeah.
It sounds like she was projecting onto you somebody else that she knew in the past who like had a particular perspective and who also supported Harvey Weinstein. Like, how else do you come to that conclusion? Like, that seems to be way.
But that's possible. That's possible.
Very possible. Yeah.
Next question.
We have some chat comments from my dad.
Let's hear it, Frank.
So my dad says, for me, moments when my true self connects to another true self, there is a sense of real being with another. I think there's the little things that instantly brightens his day.
That's nice.
And then he also says, Mike, you seem to be talking about F. Scott Peck's People of the Lie. I don't know what that is.
I don't know. It's interesting. Okay, so there's already a theory about that. That's interesting.
Can you bring that up again? F. Scott Peck.
F. Scott Peck's People of the Lie.
Is it a book?
Ooh, interesting.
People of the Lie.
It's a book, yeah.
In this absorbing and equally inspiring companion of his classic trilogy, The Road Less Traveled, further along the line, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I can't. There's too much to read.
Scott Peck brilliantly probes into the essence of human evil. People who evil attack others instead of facing their own failures. Okay.
Gotcha.
So the guy in the subway
soulless individual, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, Peck demonstrates the havoc these people of the lie work in the lives of those around them. He presents from vivid incidents encountered in his psychiatric practice examples of evil in everyday life. All right.
Wow.
Thanks for the recommendation, Frank.
That sounds like a very interesting read.
You know, this is making me think about another thing that I noticed about my ex-husband after we separated, but we were still living together. This is such a weird situation to be in, right? Like, we were not comfortable around each other at all. But the walls in my house are made out of drywall, so it's pretty easy to hear through the walls. So I did a lot of eavesdropping when he was on calls to various people. And, you know, I don't know if you've had these kinds of experiences, but once I was out of his, web of gaslighting and stuff, I was able to see him for who he really is. And the way that I could really see that was through the eavesdropping and hearing the different voice that he used with different people as he was talking to them, like on video calls or phone calls or whatever. So like he had this one voice that he always used with all of his girlfriends that he was talking to, it was like this sweetness of, trying to, and he'd use the same like pet name with all. It was like sweetie, oh sweetie, and then he'd have like this other voice for when he was trying to make himself sound more professional, and like all of these. It was like, oh my god, you sound so manipulative.
Yeah.
That I wish I'd noticed it before, like when we were together, but like I'm really noticing it now and seeing, and like the bedroom that he was in was like the wall was the same wall as my bedroom. So there are various times I was like listening like right up against the the wall to hear and overhear his conversations. Which I know there's no privacy, but you know, he decided to stay in the house, so he doesn't get privacy.
Yeah, fair enough.
And yeah, just like hearing some of the things that he would say to other people were, you know, sometimes he would acknowledge like that I was being helpful, but he would never say those things to me. But he'd said like at one point, like this is during COVID times, and we had got some like free Visa cards to use for groceries and stuff like that from the kids' schools. Like they just were helping out families. We were unemployed, so they were just, you know, helping people out. So I gave one of the cards to my ex-husband to use because he was buying food for the kids as well, and you know, that's the right thing to do. He never thanked me for it, but he did acknowledge to one of his girlfriends that, you know, that I was being helpful in this way. It's like, well, I don't know what that means really, but it's so weird to be on the other side of things and like getting to overhear his lies and stuff. There was another moment where I came home from work and he was in the kitchen with one of his girlfriends. They were cooking and talking. They didn't hear me come in. And so I was sitting on the bench on the other side of the wall from the kitchen to take off my shoes. And I just sat there for a while listening to their conversation. And he was talking about his ex-fiance, the one who was the woman he was engaged to from before he met me, and like all of the crazy things that he explained that she had done. And I was like, this is a pattern. Like he's like painting all of his exes as the crazy exes kind of thing. And then he went on to it like triggered some stuff in me. It was like, I recognize what this is. It's like, because you want to go prove yourself. It's like, oh, I'm not like that person. It's triangulation stuff. But then he went on to say, it's like, oh, the reason Dominica is divorcing me is because she doesn't want to financially support me. And it was at that point that I appeared and walked past. I was like, that's not the reason I'm divorcing you. And then just continued on and went upstairs to my bedroom.
Oh, that's funny.
I can just picture that.
Yeah. That's not the reason.
That's not the reason you. I've got something else up my sleeve.
It was just so funny because it's like they had no idea when I came in, and like I after I left, I heard him say, "Oh, I didn't even realize she was there." Like, yes, when.
It's really
like,
funny.
Sure,
funny.
maybe was I a horrible person for doing that? He could have chosen to move out of the house if he didn't want situations like that to come up. If he wanted to have some kind of privacy. So
sorry, bud.
Yeah. And it's your house too, so that he has no expectation of privacy from you, right? If he's in a public area inside the house. So
yeah, exactly.
So all of that makes me think of just the whole concept of gaslighting, right? I've been thinking while you were speaking, Dominica, every single time somebody gaslights another person, do you think, open discussion, do you think that they are 100% aware of their actions? Or do you think that sometimes gaslighting is a responsive action to conditioning? Cultural conditioning.
Yeah, I have. I feel like I've thought about this a lot, and I think it varies. I don't think there's any one reason for it. I think that there were times that my ex-husband genuinely believed the delusions that he had thought up and the things that he was saying, which is why it comes across as believable, because he personally believed the stuff that he was spewing.
Right.
And that's what makes it really hard to argue with, because when they genuinely believe it, rather than intentionally gaslighting you because they know that they did something wrong. But I think that like and I don't know that this is the case for all of the times that he was gaslighting, but certainly some of them, I would say. And just I think that it was a self-protection kind of thing. Is like he had to believe it because he didn't want to believe that he was a bad person. Because if he reflected on what the actual reality was, then that would hit a shame wound for him. And I was like, I don't want to believe this horrible thing about myself, so I'm going to believe this other thing to make me feel better about myself. So that is one example. There are definitely situations where gaslighting is intentional, like trying to get at the person to make them believe something false that the person who's gaslighting knows to be false, but it just helps them. So those are my like main examples that I feel like I've experienced. Yeah.
I think we often like paint gaslighting in this picture of like it's definitely a negative tactic, and I don't want to move away from that light, but we always paint gaslighting in this way of it's a manipulation tactic, and it is, but also if it's done subconsciously, or if you're just doing it because that's just kind of how you've been acclimated to respond to certain things. Is it as negative? Is it as terrible? Yes. But is it as negative as more conscious gaslighting?
Right.
Manipulation.
Yeah. I don't think it's as negative, but it still has the same impact. And if you can't get the person to see the more correct way of viewing things, then in either situation, you're better off walking away from it, because you're not going to be able to change it.
Yeah.
Sharad, do you have any other thoughts on that?
I don't know. It's tricky, isn't it? Because gaslighting, it really goes behind intention and motivation, isn't it? Like if the person has a goal that they're trying to reach. For example, during my early stages of my recovery, my memory was very, very, very short. I would just to remind everyone, like because of my illness, I would pass out every few minutes, and my memory would wipe. So it literally was like a complete restart. And as I got better, I noticed that people were still using dodgy tactics. Let's just say, don't you remember you said you wanted to do this or do that? And I'm like, I'm pretty aware the last time I saw you, that never happened, but it kept happening. So it's really a question then of what is the intention of the other person. That's all it is. If you can narrow it down, then you can decide, okay, is it just me or am I being gaslit, right? So it's tricky.
So like, is the intention that this person believes my point of view and only my point of view is the correct one?
Correct.
And I think that is true whether or not the gaslighting is intentional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is their goal? What do they expect the outcome to be? Because obviously, whenever you're being gaslit, the gaslighter is that the term? The gaslighter obviously has a goal in mind, right? They're not going to gaslight you for shits and giggles. There's going to be an objective that they want.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Gaslighter, I do want to say or recommend, if you're not familiar with the song Gaslighter, there is a song called Gaslighter by The Chicks. It came out.
Nice.
It came out during the pandemic. I think in 2020 it came out. And it was kind of in response to a number of different things. But man, it was so awesome having that song come out during my divorce process, because it was like that ended up being my anthem for a while. I was like, yes.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Just
From 2020. Yeah. Very nice.
I'll link
cool.
it. I'll link it in the description below at the end of the stream if anyone wants to look it up.
Yeah. Why not?
Just downloaded it.
It's such a good song. My dad has a couple of comments here.
Let's hear it, Frank.
So this authority thing seems connected to narcissism and wanting to be seen as more knowledgeable, more in control. It is an ego defense protecting deep shame that is part of narcissism. Yes, I have definitely noticed that about my ex-husband with his I read a lot of books about narcissistic personality disorder and narcissistic abuse. I do not want to diagnose my ex-husband because I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist, but reading those books kind of was the thing that helped me to notice a lot of the patterns that I was experiencing from my ex-husband. A person can behave in certain ways and have those patterns without being or having a certain personality disorder or whatever, but recognizing abuse tactics and seeing those patterns regardless of the reasons for it can really help with recovery and getting out of that self-blame. Is like, oh, if only I'd done this differently or done that differently, then maybe the outcome would have been different. It's like, no, there was a pattern there that they actively chose to do these things. So yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, we'll always replay things in our mind, like what if I turned left instead of right? Yeah, but I mean, unfortunately, it's what makes us human.
Perception is a big thing. So like I kind of discussed this with the gaslighting stuff. Like I genuinely think that he believed at least some of the stuff that he was saying because that's what he needed to do in order to protect his ego. Right. And this is the same thing that, again, going back to the stuff at the very beginning of the stream where I'm talking about people's misperceptions of me makes me irate. And there's so many situations like that if you're able to have a conversation to understand the other person's perspective and to see how they came to the conclusions that they came to, then maybe you can work through it and see where some of your perceptions were false and how you can kind of retrain yourself, because you do, like, if your perceptions are not false, you do need to retrain yourself, because sometimes it's a mindset thing. Like if your mindset is like, oh, I'm a horrible person, then you're going to be looking at things through that lens of, other people are seeing me as this horrible person. And so you'll treat other people the way that you feel like, if you're perceiving, oh, this person thinks I'm a horrible person, then I'm going to treat them horrible back. Because that's something that I feel like my ex-husband was doing. Like he would sometimes be like, he would think that I was doing things to intentionally hurt him. And I was like, I would never do something to it. I might accidentally hurt somebody's feelings, but talk to me about it. But I would never intentionally hurt someone's feelings. And it wasn't until I was going through my divorce and reading all of those books that I read about abuse that I was like, oh, he was projecting onto me what he was doing because he was the one who was intentionally hurting me because he thought that I was hurting him, so he wanted to pay me back for that. It's so weird and complex and complicated, but you know, if you can't find that middle ground and have those conversations, then you're going to continually project your perceptions of the world onto other people and treat them accordingly, and it's not fair. But you know, you get to decide who you interact with if they're going to misperceive you.
Sure. Yeah, very, very true. Very true. Do you want to take another question? Oh yeah. Do you want
to? My dad's other comments. I don't know what he was like. There are just a couple of words. Accident.
Oh, accident. No. Okay.
I don't know what that means. And what away company? Oh, my dad's gone away, so he's got company now. So, but oh wait, Zach, is Zach joining us? Yes. 1 minute, puppy. Good timing.
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
I'm just here for a second.
We can hear you. Oh, you're driving, so no video on, but we can hear you.
That's right.
How are you doing, Zach?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
We're
doing very well, thank you.
Yeah. In between questions right now, so welcome. Thank you for joining on voice.
Zach, where are you driving to? This is Mike, by the way.
Oh, hey, Mike. I'm on the way to a shoot right now.
Ooh.
You gonna go kill someone?
Video shoot.
Unfortunately, it's just a foodie shoot.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Where are you?
And driving on the highway.
Okay, let's start with this. What country are you in right now?
He's in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
He's in Malaysia. Yeah.
Gotcha.
This is He's a stand-up comedian, radio host, co-runs a production company, so he does video work and all kinds of things.
That's awesome. He's one of the most genuine human beings you'll ever meet.
Otherwise known as pedigree.
So Zach, how are you interpreting this session to go? Do you think it'll end well?
Sorry, what was that?
Your shoot that you're going to, are you hopeful it'll turn out well? How are you feeling going into it?
Okay, you know, I just have to show up and eat.
Are
the
you
struggle.
on camera?
The struggle.
I mean, I have to get in the mind of like a true foodie, you know, like this is great stuff.
Well, I mean, do you have to pretend to like it, or can you give your honest feedback?
Because I'm a guest on the show, so I have to be pretentious. Oh my God! Look at the decor. Oh my God. Look at the plating. This is awesome.
Oh wow!
Is it for like a social media? Like, is it released on social media? Is it released on TV? Like, what's it?
Yeah, it's for KL Foodie, the social media stuff.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's a new fusion restaurant that just opened at the Gardens Mall, and then so they just want like some local foodies to come and try out.
Fusion between which cuisines?
Okay, so it's like Malacca cuisine and like Western.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't Malacca cuisine kind of that anyway, since it was a Portuguese?
I mean, there's some of that Portuguese influence, but it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of spices involved, so okay. I don't know if the Portuguese were into spice.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
That
that's
sounds
what are we
nice.
talking about?
What we were talking about gaslighting. Do you have any gaslighting stories?
Yeah, why not?
Shit. I mean,
When was the last
I've
time you
never had it
gaslit
happen to
someone?
me.
No? Okay, that's surprising.
Yeah, but it's more like relationships, friends relationships, and then
Mm-hmm.
they were in like obviously toxic relationships, and then you know I'm always the shoulder to cry on.
Because you're a sweet guy, Zach. That's why.
Oh yeah, there we go. that's the password to the friend zone.
Oh, that's
The
not true,
sweet
Zach.
guy?
Just gonna say that.
What?
That's not.
No. No. I
Sweet guy.
genuinely, every guy that I have been with that has been worth anything has been a sweet guy. So no,
Yeah, how many
there's
friends do you have?
sweetness that. What?
How many
Sure.
guys have you put in the friend zone?
Actually, yeah, Dominica, how many guys have you put in the friend
Are
zone?
you saying that
You're all trapped.
Are you saying that I put you in the friend zone? Is that what's going on here? I feel like guys put themselves in the friend zone by not speaking up about what they want. That's what I think.
Well, it's called research.
Research? Wait, what?
Yeah, they have to reconnaissance the girls first before they actually, dive in, and then because they can't just dive in and then they'll be like flat out rejected.
Then
like,
the guys.
I don't see
guys
that way.
think that as soon as they're labeled as a sweet guy, then they can't even approach the woman because they think that they've been friend zoned. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Zach, you know my history with a little bit of my history with the person I was with in Malaysia, who I've used the name Lee on this stream because I don't use his real name publicly. Do you think that I would have gotten with him if he wasn't a sweet guy?
I mean, I'm sure you didn't tell him out front, like,
I
hey, you're a
probably
sweet
did.
guy. No.
I'm sure I did.
Nah,
No, I must have.
Nope. Don't think so.
I was not attracted to him initially, but over time, with more sweetness that came to light, the more attracted to him I was. So, this.
Yeah, but these are all like physical actions. Like, you didn't like sink him in with the whole "you're a sweet guy, Lee," and then Lee go like, "Oh, there we go."
I don't remember exactly all of the things that I said to him. I probably, I'm sure there were moments that I gave him the impression that I was not attracted to him at all.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't think.
So anyway,
he didn't think I was into him. I'm trying to correct Zach that Anyway, my point is, Zach, do not take someone calling you a sweet guy as necessarily being put in the friend zone. That's all I'm saying. If you're taking this personally and thinking that this is maybe too much.
So I'm just going to interject here and wipe the slate clean. Can we have a next question?
Another question.
Yeah, let's do it.
I feel like
This is that improv scene where we keep revolving around the same topic over and over and over again.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I feel like Zach is like personally offended and he thinks that I friend zoned him.
Hey, we've moved on, Dominica.
I've got another question. It is okay.
We're moving on.
Okay. Name have to rephrase this because it's designed for a couple answering this question with each other. But
literally before sex.
Name a couple in your life. A couple. People who are in a relationship with each other. Name a couple in your life that you wish to either be more like in a relationship with someone or nothing like.
Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively.
You want to have a Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively relationship.
The lies.
I don't know. Blake Lively seems not the greatest of people. From a few things that I've seen. I don't follow very closely her stuff, but Ryan Reynolds is more appealing.
Yeah, it definitely sounds. I know that's a tricky one. Like, okay, let's say maybe I don't know. Like, this might be a bit of a cheaty kind of answer. Cheaty. It's not really a couple per se, but maybe the relationship. Does everyone remember what's his name, Mr. He was this guy. What was his name?
Mr.
He was this old. You remember he would always teach kids morals and tell them stories. I've forgotten his name now. Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, that's his name. Do you guys remember him?
Yeah, Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers' name.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers. There you go. Sorry, thank you. I was blanking there. Not a relationship between two people per se, but I love the relationship between Mr. Rogers and us, the audience, because obviously he'd be talking to us the entire time. Aside from his guests, but I would go on YouTube and just kind of like, because it would pop up in my algorithm about stuff like that, and he just seemed so genuine, like such a nice guy. And then whenever he looks into the camera and he goes, I care about you too, that actually felt really, really genuine. So if anything, if not to say that I want to be like Mr. Rogers, I don't think I've got anywhere close to the temperament to do that. But that's the aspiration of a good person that you want to become. So yeah, I mean, if anything, I'd love to become like Mr. Rogers. Minus the cardigan, because it's too hot for me. So. What about you, Mike?
For me, so this was a either side of the coin question, and I'm going to choose the other side of the coin because
you already have a perfect relationship.
I do. I love my relationship with Kim.
Yeah.
So the relationship that I don't want is Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Oh,
yeah, bro, good
yes.
one. Good
That's
one.
the relationship I do not want.
That's such a toxic relationship.
I mean, to be fair, it's not just their relationship; it's the whole family. It sounds like.
That I'm unfamiliar with, but once upon a time I used to hold them on a pedestal as they're like one of the most quintessential couples in Hollywood, and they have such a great relationship, and everything that they put out there is just so positive. And that was not true.
Mm-hmm. So. House of Cards, indeed. Yeah.
Dominica?
A relationship that I would either like to be like. I do have a friend who she got married during the pandemic, and I feel like she and her husband just have a really great relationship in terms of how they are able to be open and communicate with each other about different challenges, and are so supportive of each other, and very giving and listening, and even when they don't see eye to eye on things, they're able to find some resolution. I feel like that's kind of my ideal kind of relationship to be able to have that kind of communication. So I love any time that she shares about, personal stuff like that. It's nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good for them. Next question.
Next question. Do you want to pick a different category from this one? You're going to give me a different number between 1 to 5.
What say you, Michael?
Let's have Zach pick it.
Oh, I think Zach's dropped off now.
Oh, Zach.
All right, okay.
It was just driving for a little while, so
he was just doing a drive-through.
That's right.
I picked the deck the last time.
All right, how about we go with
same deck? I'm doing a different category from the deck.
All right, let's say we go with lucky number 7.
I said 1 to 5.
1 to 5. Let's go with lucky number 4.
Okay, 4 is relationship.
Oh.
Let's see how many of these we can do in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, let's try. Yeah, okay.
All right. Quickly, one in the middle.
Work that shuffle, girl. There you
go. Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
This is maybe a question more for... well, okay. I'm going to generalize this more. You can pick what relationship that you want to talk about for this question. So if your relationship with whomever you choose ended tomorrow, and so it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, since Sharad and I are not in one, what 3 things would you miss the most?
Okay, so if a relationship ended tomorrow, so that means it's going to have to come to a very quick, sudden end, right? Presumably. So this could be either a fight or someone passing away or whatever. I don't know. I think that the easiest thing for me is I always tend to really stick it to the back of my own head. Know what you're saying?
Wait, what happened?
Zach's come back.
Oh, hey, Zach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, you're fine, dude. So we're talking about, I don't know, if I get into a relationship or something where things don't work out, I tend to go to the back of my mind and I'll start second guessing every little decision I made. And I always wonder, could I have done something more? Could I have been a better person? Was this, even though I think in my mind that wasn't me, I could have affected the outcome if I did X, Y, Z. So it's tricky. It's definitely a very tricky thing. But at the same time, I also learn, through that relationship, what did I learn? Am I a better person because of it? And how can I not repeat the same mistakes? So it's tricky.
Yeah. The question, though, is what would you miss about the person? That's why you have to pick a particular person that, if you lost that person in however way, you had a fight or they passed away or whatever, what would you miss most about that person? So pick a person that you have some kind of relationship with, family member, friendship, whatever. Right. And then what would you miss most about that person if you lost them tomorrow?
The easiest one probably would be one of my cousins. Unfortunately, when my mother passed away, my mother had 3 other siblings. 2 unfortunately have passed. So the oldest is still with us, my cousin's father. And there was some sort of hubba or a biggle whatever you want to say, about the grandparents' will. There was a lot of shenanigans going on with that. And let's just say a lot of people were not on the up and up about what was meant to be distributed where. And basically, there's a lot of people who said in the family, this is kind of shady, what's kind of been going on. And I spoke to my cousin about it, and I was just saying, listen, whatever issues our parents have, we're good. Right. And unfortunately, it didn't quite turn out that way. And it's something I miss because, he was more like a brother than anything else.
Mm.
And no matter what you do, and I've reached out to him, I've said, like, listen, we're fine if you want to, and still nothing. So it's very, very difficult in that sense when, if you want to reconnect and you're just hitting a stone wall, there's only so much you can do. And until you learn to accept it, because it's out of your control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hope that answers the question the second time I answered it. I'm sorry.
Oh, that counts, I think.
Yeah. All right.
For answering the question.
Yeah. One of you two will take over then. What do you have to?
It would be Kim's constant support and non-judgmental belief in me. That's. I mean, there's a lot, but that I hold in such high esteem and value. Like, that's something that's very important to me, that I have that person in my life that believes in me, no matter what. And if that was just gone,
yeah, it's hard to lose something like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick the person who I used the pseudonym Craig for, not the Craig who was a guest in the past.
Well, guest in the past, Craig, is his real name.
Yes, exactly. So pseudonym Craig, who is both currently a friend but also a former lover, who, we were together for a brief period, disappeared from each other's lives for a little while, came back together as friends, then reconnected together as a long-term ongoing kind of relationship thing, and then decided that was not the best kind of relationship for us, so we're just friends now. But he is still similar kind of thing. He's like my constant support. Like, he's my one person that I immediately reach out to anytime like something
Friend zone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If it was possible for him and I to be together, we would be together. But it's not possible for us to be together. So friendship is what we have to do. So he's my constant support of like who I would go to whenever I have some crazy shit is happening in my life. He's the first person I message. Any like happy stuff that's going on in my life, he's my first person I message. If I lost him, I don't know who I would first reach out to, because I mean I have other people who I consider like really good friends, but I don't message them as frequently as I message Craig. And so it's and he's constantly like Kim is for you, Mike, like my support, like will always be my cheerleader no matter what's going on. I've written about him in my memoir, and I'm revealing stuff that is not the greatest stuff that I'm sharing, but he's like gave me blanket permission to share whatever is necessary to tell the story that I need to tell. And it is so nice to have that 100% backing. He's someone that even going through my divorce, my ex-husband wanted to, I think I talked about this on one of the other streams, like my ex-husband wanted to expose our relationship as if it was like this thing that was going to be a big threat to me, like, oh, I'm going to be scared. Like, no, why would I be scared of that? Like, I value this friendship, and and that he's continued to support me through all of the bullshit that I've been through, regardless of what the status of our friendship or relationship was at the time. So losing that, like, there've been times where I was like, when we were together, I'm like, no, we should end things, and I should probably not talk to you anymore. But I will come back, and I was like, I can't not have you around. It's like I just can't. So yeah, losing him would be a massive blow to my life. I don't have anyone else who's as much of a support to me as what he is.
I think that's the thing. If we have someone who's like our security blanket or our anchor, and we lose that person unexpectedly, it's very, very hard to bounce back from. So I can understand what you mean by that.
Well, that's why it was so hard for me to lose Lee last year, because like he was that person for me. To at least some extent, because he was like my rock of this person who was putting me up on this pedestal of like this great person that and he was able to talk to me for hours long. Like Craig is someone that when we talk, it's like 20 minutes on a video call while he's driving home from work. Like that's it. But with Lee, we would talk for like 3 hours on average anytime we had a video call, and he was always constantly interested in all the, you know, things that were going on in my life that most people would not be interested in hearing me talk about. And so losing that was, you know, such a huge blow for me. And that's why it took me so long to move past things, and I kept trying to like wanted to fix things, because I'm like, how do you just lose all of that? But sometimes you have to.
Mike, since we're on this subject, I think I don't know if I've asked you this. How did you know that Kim was the one?
There was no aha moment for me. It was a gradual. You know that story that I've told a few times where we were sitting in this restaurant and I went into the restaurant thinking I was going to break up with her because I didn't have the butterflies. And then that moment of clarity came over me to say, there's no reason you need to break things off because nothing's bad. Wait to break up with her until something gets bad, or until you have a reason. Like, lack of butterflies is not a reason. So during COVID, we moved in with each other and we just became so comfortable with each other. And so, like, all of the love and admiration that we already had for each other just continued to grow and grow and grow. Like, everything just, the more I was around her, the better my life got. And there was no moment of, whoa, she's the one. It was just this slow, you know, like when you boil a frog, like you put it in cold water and then slowly turn up the heat. At some point, the frog is just going to notice that it's in boiling water. And that was it for me. Like, I just noticed I was just eternally in love with this woman. And it was, yeah, like making the decision to buy a ring to give to her. It was almost like a non-decision. It was just the next logical step of, well, now you've had your main course, so of course you're gonna have dessert. Like, it's just what comes next, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Was she surprised when you proposed?
yes and no. She was.
Was she like?
No. Like, she knew it was gonna happen because, you know, there was like some probing questions of like, I might need to know your ring size, please.
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
Like that. So like, she knew it was coming at some point. In fact, there were a few times that she thought it was coming and it didn't. And she told me this much later, but she knew it was coming because we just had that kind of a relationship. Like, it was just, I knew that she wanted to get married. She knew that I wanted to get married. We didn't want to talk about it too much because we still both kind of wanted to be surprised by it. But yeah.
That's nice. That's the ideal kind of way to have things grow into just make sense, right?
Yeah.
Mike, you raised your hand briefly when I was telling my answer earlier. Did you actually have a question, or did I answer it while I was talking?
I think you answered it. I honestly, I don't even remember what it was.
Okay.
I don't even remember what it was, but I think that's why I put my hand down, was I think it was being addressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I don't know.
It's all good. I'll bring up a couple of my dad's comments.
Is Zach still around?
No, he disappeared again.
He left again. Oh,
No worries.
He probably arrived
Yes.
at his new restaurant. So my dad says Ryan Reynolds may fit the people of the lie category from what Candace Owens uncovered about his childhood. He is very good at selling his ego self. I don't
This
know
one's
what
tricky.
uncovered.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I suppose with any celebrity, especially a performer, an actor, you have to have that external kind of pretense or an ego. I think as we talked about, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really know that much about the situation, so
I'm completely unfamiliar with this.
Yeah.
I have no idea what any of this uncovering stuff is about, but it's making me think about Will Smith you mentioned that earlier, Mike. Will
A
Smith
lot of things came out of there, didn't they? So.
I've not read his he has an autobiography, right? I have not read it, but I've heard that he's written about like his difficult relationship with his father, and the abuse that he suffered and stuff. So based on what my dad has said, maybe it's similar. I feel like a lot of there's probably a lot of people that get into acting and theater and stuff because of very challenging childhoods and wanting to escape that reality by putting on another persona and stepping into someone else's shoes. Gives you an opportunity to live another life for a little while.
Well, a lot of people, if not the majority of people who go into comedy, do it as a way of coping with all the shit that they have had to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember watching quite a few documentaries, or at least some videos of like some prominent comedians. I can't list them off the top of my head, but a lot of them did say that comedy or something stems from trauma, from disappointment, from depression, and that is why you see so many. I say so many. Like for example, Robin Williams, right? We've talked about someone who, on the surface, is bright and cheery. We had no idea he was battling all these demons. So, yeah, it's understandable.
Well, look at even if you just look at what comedy is, to be very trite, there's an expression that goes something to the effect of like, tragedy is feeling pain. Comedy is watching somebody else feel pain.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason we laugh at that is not because we're trying to make the other person feel bad about feeling pain. We laugh because we know what it's like to feel pain. And laughter is an evolutionary response of safety.
And because it's not happening to us as well. So we can laugh about that.
Hence the safety. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And my dad also answered the question that we just asked about what you miss. So my dad says he generally misses their being away. In some cases, loss of touch and their smiles. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. There are some smiles that I've been on the receiving end that is so hard to not see anymore. Both Craig and Lee have a particular smile. It's like, God damn, I love that smile. There's that one where it's like, I just am so much in awe and appreciative of being in your presence. There's a smile that says that. Meanwhile, I had a video call with Craig maybe a week or two ago, and he told me that I had this one smile that he could tell that I was thinking dirty thoughts, and I was like, what? I have a particular smile for that. How can you?
But
He's
were
like,
you thinking dirty thoughts?
Were you thinking dirty thoughts?
I probably was. Because
Then
it
you have
was.
a tell.
He obviously knows that look because I've given him that look a decent amount on various video calls. We don't live in the same city, so that's one of the reasons that we don't have an ongoing relationship. But yeah, there are some looks for sure that you just know about other person. I know what that means. I love having that kind of familiarity with a person that you just know all of their different looks and the different things that what they mean.
I mean, like that can be broken down to if you're with a friend or a group of friends, let's say at someone's house, a bar, whatever. Some people are talking or something happens. You make eye contact with the person. Both of you just go. You thinking the exact same thing. Yeah. So this is a better feeling. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Next question.
In American Sign Language, it's known as.
Really?
Which means our brains are in sync with each other.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Or like we're thinking the same thing, so it's there you go. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Okay.
The only sign language I know is thank you. Next question.
Next question.
Next question. Side note, you have me for another 35 minutes.
Cool.
All right, no problem. We'll finish at the 3-hour mark. What is your biggest fear for your relationship? Mike, you can obviously pick Kim. Sharad and me, we can pick whatever relationship you want to pick for this one. What's your biggest fear?
Can you read the question one more time?
What's your biggest fear for your relationship? It says this relationship, but obviously it's designed for a couple answering it with each other.
Defiant miscommunication.
Explain.
Miscommunication happens. It just happens, right? It's not intentional. But that's where, the other person or like both parties meet in the center after a miscommunication has happened and feelings have been hurt, that you can come together and hash out the details and work through the problem. Defiant miscommunication is a term that I have made up just now in this moment, which is they have no intention on coming to the table. There's miscommunication, and their willingness to resolve that that issue or that problem is not there.
Yeah, to piggyback on to piggyback onto that, I think communication is important, but that will only happen if people put effort into the relationship. And there you go. I mean, there's only so much you can do and it has to be mutual. It can't just be one or the other. It has to be both. And I mean, to be fair, like I'm sure both of you, this has happened to you. To be fair, you might have done this to someone else, a friend, a lover, whatever, where you're just like, I don't know if this is worth it, and essentially ghosting happens, right? So
because I've not experienced that like ever. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. So I mean,
he says as an angel.
Yeah. Right. So, but yeah, I mean, it just goes down to something where I feel like effort is the number one thing, because obviously intention is one thing, but it's the little things. But I'm sure you two can relate when you see someone really make an effort. Like for example, my birthday last month, a friend of mine, David, rang me. I hadn't spoken to him in years, and he actually rang me, and we had a full half an hour conversation about how my day was, what his life has been, what my life has been, and I really appreciated that, because when was the last time? It doesn't even have to be on the person's birthday, but maybe you were thinking of someone, you just ring them and just have a full half an hour conversation just to catch things up. And like I said with David, he and I had not spoken in years, we were never particularly close. We were acquaintances. So that was what really, really hit me. So maybe just goes to show a little bit of effort goes a very, very long way. Yeah.
I think my biggest fear I'm going to generalize this in any kind of relationship, whether it's romantic, friendship, whatever. My biggest fear is being abandoned by the person and not knowing why. Like, I can cope with someone deciding that, that they don't want me around in their life anymore. But if I don't know why, that's what really gets to me, because then I will go into overthinking mode and try to understand, but I don't have the other person around to tell me and help me understand what happened. Because especially if it's something that, they made the decision because of something I did, I would want to know, so that even if I can't fix it with that person, at least I can know whether it's something I want to change for future relationships with other people. But if someone just chooses to just abandon and not say anything and ghost, like Sharad was saying, I can't learn anything. Like, what am I supposed to learn from that? It's so hard to know. So being completely cut off and not knowing why is my biggest fear.
I think we're all describing different sides of the same triangle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
I think so. Next question. Did want to see how many we could get through.
Yeah. We're waiting for the fire round now. Yeah, let's fire through some of them.
One more from the relationship.
Sure.
Well, we'll see. What do you feel that you need to work on the most in your relationships with other people? This is my way of rephrasing this question, because, like I said, it's designed for a couple. The way that it's actually phrased is, what do you feel we need to work on most in our relationship? How can we do this? But yeah, what do you feel like you need to work on most in your relationships with other people?
For me, like if I might start first, I think the easiest one for me would be to be present, right? Because obviously, I'm not special. Like, we all have things going on in our lives, and with my own illness as well, like, I have to look after myself to recharge. But at the same time, I do tend to hide myself away. If, let's say, things don't go my way or I'm not feeling great, I'll be like, tomorrow is tomorrow. We'll focus on that tomorrow. And then something else will pop up, and then something else will pop up, and that never gets resolved. So that's something that I do think I need to definitely put a lot more effort into relationships, for sure.
The thing for me is not getting defensive when I feel triggered.
Yeah.
That is the number one thing that I feel like I'm trying to work on at the moment. Yeah, because
So, for example, if I go, oh, Dominica, I don't think you're spending enough time with me. That wouldn't.
Well, if it did trigger me, then
why wouldn't it? Why aren't you spending time with me, Dominica?
We're spending plenty of time together.
So what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
You're on my streams every week. Come on.
Yeah.
But like, if somebody said that to me, and I was triggered by it, then I might, like, my immediate reaction might be this kind of thing. Well, what do you mean? Like, of course I'm spending a lot of time with you. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Like, I will try and argue why you're wrong, would be my immediate reaction.
Right.
So, and getting defensive, like, I'm trying my best, or that kind of thing. And so what I'm trying to do is slow down my reaction. So rather than reacting to how I'm feeling in the moment and getting defensive, sit in what is coming up for me and try to understand why I'm being triggered by this and why I want to defend myself. And then once I can move past that, then I can be more open to hearing what the person is actually trying to share with me. And then I can be open to, if I still don't completely understand what they're saying, ask clarifying questions to get more understanding. That is a better way of approaching it rather than getting defensive in the moment.
That's a really good thing to work on.
Yeah.
That's really good. Very mature.
I'm trying. Doesn't always work, but yeah.
Mike, since we're on the subject, do you ever have trouble? Not saying being mature, because you seem like a very mature guy, but I mean, like, in terms of, let's say, whenever your reactions, do you ever have trouble, like, all right, I've got to be an adult about this, or do you trigger back to that kind of side of yourself?
Well, I think for me, that all comes down to the nuance of how that information is presented. So, like, is the person trying to, as the kids used to say when I was a kid, diss you? Are they trying to disrespect you? Are they being dismissive of you? Or is it just a complete oversight? I don't know, because every situation's just a little bit different. So
right, because sometimes if we were kids, if you were being made fun of 9 times out of 10, it was just them trying to appear cool in front of their friends, right?
Oh yeah,
it had nothing to do with you. So yeah,
I was just the easy target.
Yeah, right. But look at you now, you're the cool kid yourself, aren't you?
Yes.
I'm
yes.
that I have exes wanting to come back and be friends with me again.
Herman lost his hand.
Oh no. Have you got anything new, Mike, at all to add to your collection? Or have you got your eye on anything?
I've been collecting a lot of Roosevelt's shirts lately, the button-down shirts.
Roosevelt shirts, you said?
Yeah, so if you spell Roosevelt's, but take all of the vowels out, so RSVLTS.
Ah. Oh, these are nice. These are very nice.
They have some really great shirts. So they just came out with a line, like, I mean, it seems like every other day they have a new line of, fandom shirts that they've just come out with. So a few days ago, they came out with a brand new X-Men shirt that I had to pick up. And that's the print. That's the design on it.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Okay. That's nice.
No.
Oh, it's got their faces on there too. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Jubilee and Gambit. Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. So that's the shirt that I just picked up. Yeah.
Nice.
That's nice.
But yeah, I collect a lot of these shirts because they're really comfortable and I really like wearing them. And let's see if I can get this to
Focus in the right place.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I've been collecting a lot of, are just like these button-down shirts. But I mean, for Christmas, I did get a.
Oh wow!
All these in a the Office character.
The Office, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
An advent calendar. So.
Oh, and all stuck onto it as well. That's awesome.
Well, I glued them on here just so I could display them, and then I realized,
nice.
I've got many more of these shelves. I should have just done one row as opposed to 2 rows.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You live and learn, right? What about you, Dominica?
Of what? So I was just going to say that I've not watched The Office, but I did watch 2 Steve Carell movies yesterday.
What did you watch?
Crazy Stupid.
Me.
No, Crazy Stupid Love.
Great one.
And 40-Year-Old Virgin.
The classic. Did you have a favorite of the 2?
That's tough. I don't know. There are things that I like and dislike about both of those films. Yeah.
But if you had to pick a favorite out of the 2, the one you enjoyed the most?
I mean, I have a massive crush on Ryan Gosling, so I'd have to pick Crazy Stupid.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Next question.
Wait, is that the one where he took off his shirt and Emma Stone's like, was it that one?
Yeah. He does this whole dirty dancing shtick thing.
Oh yeah. All right. Next question.
My dad has a comment for us. So I'll pull that
Next
up first.
comment.
My dad's fears in relationships can be traced back to his old patterns of negative self-talk because of not being awake to my mask. It happened more when I was younger. I bet my dad will be interested in the video that I want to share on social media sometime this week. I've written the text that I want to say. I just need to record it.
Interesting.
But yeah, talking about men who don't, the negative self-talk kind of gets in the way of the relationships that they want to have. Stuff. All right, I'm gonna pick we've got one, 2, 3, or 5. Pick a different category from this deck.
Mike? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Not 4. We just did 4.
1, 2, 3, 5. Sorry. 1, 2, 3. Okay, go 5.
5. Ooh, intimacy.
Ooh.
The sexy one.
Butt stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Never done it.
Where's
Would be open to it.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I have done it with 2 different partners.
Very good.
Yeah.
I was offered, and then that offer was revoked.
The offer was revoked. Okay.
Revoked.
I
hope not
5 minutes.
Like just. Oh, dude, that sucks. Yeah. Oh well. You live and you learn.
Mine were my ex-husband, probably for obvious reasons because we were together the most, and Craig was the other one, and it was not something that he was really interested in, but he was curious about doing with me. So I'm like, let's do it. Yeah. Well, moving on. What are some ways that you can make sure that your sex life and intimacy stays intact when life gets busy?
Ooh. Mike, how do you keep, I don't mean to put you on the spot, how do you keep the marriage alive, spicy, and the flame bright?
This is such an unsexy answer.
Please.
It's such an unsexy answer, but put it on the calendar. If you don't make time for it, it won't happen. And so, like, we all love to believe that, like, because we all love the spontaneity of it, right? Like, that's part of it, is the spontaneity. But also, if you just keep waiting for the spontaneity and your lives are just so busy, then it's just never going to happen. Or at least it's just not going to happen anywhere near as frequent as you want it. So, I mean, as unsexy as it is, you got to plan that shit out. You got to put it on the calendar.
Well, that's the thing. Even if you say put it on the calendar, it could be maybe put on the calendar for you to approach Kim with, right? Is that her name, Kim?
Yeah.
So if you put, like, for example, Thursday, 26, 2 p.m., buy Kim chocolates from XYZ, or take Kim to do this, or propose this. I mean, at least then, for you, it might not be quote unquote spontaneous.
Right, yeah, you're leaving a little bit of wiggle room in there. Yeah. I would even take it maybe to kind of in the same vein, but like set aside date night. And if it happens on date night, great. If it doesn't happen on date night,
that's fine too.
Because there's other ways of having intimacy that aren't sex as well, right? Like getting emotionally intimate with each other.
Time,
and so date nights are a great time to have that kind of emotional intimacy, whether or not it leads to something else.
Yeah. And also just, make time to do stuff together. Like tonight, we both went tap dancing together. And it was just...
Oh, she came too.
Yeah, well, she's the one who got me into it. She's been tap dancing for a number of months, if not over a year now. She's so good at it. She loves it so much. And it's something that, she's brought me along into, and we kind of get to do together.
You know what would be really funny if you teased that by like suddenly one day you just become this incredible tap dancer, and she's just like, I don't know. Oh, that's lovely.
I've always had like these thoughts of grandeur of, for the next 12 months, you go out and plan all these rehearsals to put on like this massive big event that seems very spontaneous and very, not planned. So like a flash mob type thing. With a rock band, and somebody hands you a guitar and you just shred on the guitar, sing all the lead vocals, and just like, where did that come from? How did that happen? I think that's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, like every time I watch something on YouTube, I'm just like, why couldn't that have happened to me?
Because you have to make it happen to you, Sharad.
That's right.
Yep, true. Very, very true.
To make it happen, otherwise,
very true.
Right? Nobody else is going to do it for you. Sharad, what about you? What are some ways that you have or have thought about making sure that sex life and intimacy stays intact in your life?
I think the obvious one, as Mike said, it's communication. Because when I was in university, to be fair, it doesn't even have to be university life. It could be working life, whatever. We all have responsibilities. We all have our own timetables. And it's very easy to not check in, where it could be something as simple as thinking of you, hope you have a nice day. And so as long as you make the effort and it doesn't become a chore. For example, I remember this friend of mine. She told me that her and her boyfriend they both got into film production, and they would work on different projects, which I really admire. But because of that, they wouldn't see each other very often. So they made a rule. Every time, first thing in the morning before they went off on their set, they would either go to each other's houses and carry on their day. I'm like, that sounds super stressful. We have to do this. And I'm like, wait, so even if, let's say, you're on one side of town and you're on the other side, you have to just quickly come in, like for 2 seconds, open the door, and then just run out. I'm like, that just sounds like a chore at some point, doesn't it?
I feel like that would be stressful for me as well. I am more comfortable. Like, I've had so many long distance relationships that maybe that's the reason that I would be more comfortable with not needing something like that. But so my go-to is more just sending a cute little message sometime throughout the day. Sometimes it might be a sexy picture. Privately to the person, just to let them know that I'm thinking of them, and get ideas flowing. And even if we don't have time to actually do anything with it, at least they know that you're still thinking about them in that way.
Yeah, I mean, like this kind of goes back to memory. This didn't happen to me, but I was right next to it. We were in England, and a friend of mine, Caroline, beautiful girl, very, very beautiful girl. And she had a boyfriend, and she's like, can you film something for me? We were at a pub. There was me, her boyfriend, some other friends, mutual friends. And she's like, can you just film him? Just film him real quick? And I'm like, yeah, sure. and she sends him a message. What no one tells me, and to be fair, it's a saucy message, and you just see him like talking to his friend, ha ha ha, and he opens it and he just goes, and then he just without looking at anyone, he just goes, "Excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom now," and he just awkwardly gets up and he walks away, and I was in tears. Everyone was laughing because we knew what was going on, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant because obviously they were right there, right in front of each other. It was just funny.
One of my favorite things that I liked to do or try to do is sending messages when I know that the other person is busy with other people, and seeing if they check the messages while they're with the other person.
See how compromised they get.
Yeah. I remember one situation with Lee where I know he generally was not messaging me. Like when he's out with his friends after a show or whatever, he doesn't get on his phone very much. So there was a time where he was out with friends after a show and he was messaging me, and I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity to see if I can get him like to react on his face and have everyone wonder like what is going on with him. Like I really wanted to have that kind of a situation. And he was like, you know, I have a pretty good poker face, but if you sent me a raunchy picture, I don't know that I could cover that up very well.
You just imagine them just going.
It's so fun. All right, my dad's got another couple of comments here. This one first, I think. I am aware of my talking myself out of relationships. It makes me an avoidant personality. I love the idea, but good at picking people not wanting me. If they called me on it by taking me seriously. Then this is continued. I suspect I would panic. A big fear. I am not good enough. And
self-sabotage is a thing.
This is why I keep picking guys who don't think that they're good enough for me, because that's the kind of person my dad is. And which is why
I think that's a lot of us, to be fair.
Yeah,
I think that is a lot of us. We really we don't give ourselves enough credit, and if your childhoods were anything like mine, I was surrounded by people putting me down. And I was just thinking about this the other day. I still struggle with validation. You know, I don't know if you heard about it yet or not, but I have a television show coming out.
Oh, have you?
Really?
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, have you? Oh, wow! Congratulations.
Thank you. And I was thinking about this whole concept of like what a crazy wackadoo experience, and we always fantasize the what ifs, right? And I was kind of indulging this fantasy for a moment, and what if this television show goes well, and what if another opportunity comes, and what if blah 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 blah, what if it I become the best actor, the best comedian that has ever lived, and everybody bows down and worships my feet, right?
Sure.
I'm still that 10-year-old kid from Oil City, Pennsylvania, who needs that validation from other people to feel like I matter. And that was a real humbling thought that came to me of like, it doesn't matter what we achieve as long as we, what are the words that I'm looking for? It doesn't matter what we achieve in life as long as whatever it is that we do is with honor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just to go on that, I mean, I know we always talk about being selfless, quote unquote, but have you noticed whenever you do something for someone, whenever they don't say thank you, does it irk you? It does, right? So
Does it what you?
Irk you? Does it annoy you?
When someone says thank you?
Doesn't say thank you. Doesn't say thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different.
For me, it depends. It depends on what my relationship with that person is. and what my expectations are of that person.
Yes, but yes, and every situation is a little bit different. So like, yeah, you can, hand a child a glass of water, and they're probably not going to say thank you, but they got what they wanted or they got what they needed, and so there is something about that transaction that is fulfilling to the giver. But
I mean, it's tricky because, like, let's say if you give a child a glass of water and they might not say thank you, but you see them smiling, you see them gulping it down, you're like, okay, job's done.
Yeah.
If you help, let's say, an older person cross the road and they say, oh, or whatever, fine. But let's say if you little things where it's like you're at an intersection and you let someone who it wasn't their turn to cross, but you let them cross anyway, and there's not even and they just speed off. You're like, screw you, dude! I didn't have to do that. Little things like that.
yeah,
Or another thing when if you're letting someone cut ahead of you in line and they don't even acknowledge you, you're like, didn't have to do that. So it's just little things. When you're on the same level with the next person and there's no acknowledgement, that's when I can imagine it does get irritating.
Speaking of that example, here's another only in New York story.
Do tell.
This was 15 years ago, 17 years ago. It was a while ago. I'm getting into line at the grocery store. Do you guys have Whole Foods in Malaysia?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think so, but when I was in America, we definitely had Whole Foods.
Okay, yeah, so you know of it. So
Yeah.
I'm at Whole Foods, and I've got everything that I'm getting ready to check out, and I'm just about to, like, here's me, and here's the person, here's the back of the line, and I am walking right up, and who cuts right in front of me? Tracy Morgan.
Motherfucker.
he didn't realize that he was cutting me off. It was just kind of like, because he was looking this way and I was looking, and he and his lady friend just cut right in front. And of course, to me, I'm just like, Tracy Morgan just cut me off. But of course, he had no idea. He had no idea. It wasn't
unintentional. Yeah.
It was completely unintentional.
All right. I know we have to wrap up soon. I'll just pull up another one of my dad's comments here. So he just said, past history with my mother still challenges him.
Of course.
Yeah. Nah, man, it's just.
Gee, I can't imagine why.
So that's a topic that I will be talking about on a hopefully a short social media thing that I share on across the different platforms later this week, maybe tomorrow, depending on how much time I have. But I'm not learning more coding stuff and going to a job interview that I have to drive to, stuff like that. Busy day.
That sounds fun, though. That sounds really fun.
It's at a temp staffing agency, so
good for you.
I don't know why it has to be an in-person call.
Maybe they just want to,
Anyway,
get a feel for
that's
you.
something I'm doing. I'm making an effort to get a job. So yeah, we'll wrap up. Thank you for tuning in. It looks like we've had a few viewers that have been watching and not commenting. That's totally fine. If you want to tune in again, feel free to leave us some questions or comments next time you're on. And yeah, we do this weekly, not always on the same night. We'll see. We'll check the YouTube channel to find out when we're scheduled to go next. After, in the next couple of days, I'll put up a new event for next week. And yeah, subscribe, hit the like button, share it with your friends, enjoy, and check out Mike's TV show for
Pineapple Improv live from Times Square, streaming on Zeem.
Very cool.
Yeah. And feel free to follow on any of the other social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram. That's where I share stuff as well as YouTube. So until next time, enjoy the rest of your week.
Bye.